Chapter 347. As Michael and Alex stood at the edges of the battle stage, the cheers dulled down. The crowd was too excited to cheer. Michael calmly remained with his hands folded. He didn't unsheath his dual swords. On the other side, Alex stood with his long golden spear in his hand. The spear was nothing that would scream craftsmanship, rather it was plain looking. The entire spear looked like it was made of gold, the long point looked extremely sharp and pointy. Despite its normal looking, Michael could sense the overwhelming power the spear was radiating. Since the participants were not allowed to use arch energy, Michael wouldn't be able to use responsive shield to protect himself from the spear. Luckily, Michael trained his sword mastery to 96% and serpent mega to 93%. Both these skills enabled him to move nimbly and at an extreme speed even without using arch energy. Can we get this over with? I have a championship to win, Michael sounded bored to everyone. Did you hear that, guys? He's so sure, Ishihara commented. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. We just need to wait and see which is which, James Hall answered Ishihara. Michael's words caused a commotion among the fans of Alex. Beat him. Beat him. Beat him. Beat him. Beat him. The morning star dispels and fans of Alex began to chant in unison while Michael remained calm despite their cheers. However, suddenly Michael's brows furrowed as he saw Alex remove the armor covering his chest. The spear remained still without falling down while Alex continued to remove his armor pieces one by one. But Alex threw the armor pieces on the ground. Each time a piece hit the stage, the heavy metal produced a thud sound. You're kidding me? Michael was confused. What is Alex doing? Michael was not the only one who was confused. Even Ishihara couldn't help asking the question. He's throwing away his advantage over Ghost and leveling up the field. Although Darius' words made sense, many couldn't believe Alex. After I kill you, I don't want people to say that I had an advantage, Alex coldly smiled. His words got amplified by the runes and sent a chill running through Ethan's spine. Diana clenched her fist while trying her best to control the killing intent from showing in her eyes. Kill me? Michael tilted his head, pretending to be shocked. You're not gonna beg for mercy and surrender, are you? As he snickered, Alex removed the last piece of armor that covered his abs. Throwing the armor onto the stage, he stood flexing his flawless smooth skin to the audience. Alex had a perfect upper body with six-pack abs, a chiseled chest and perfectly placed muscles. Oh my god. So sexy. Sister Selena is really a lucky girl. Ah, look at his abs, so smooth with his silver hair fluttering in the wind and golden spear in one hand. Alex looked like a model for magazines. Many girls had sparkling eyes looking at Alex. Even men couldn't help feeling jealous of his body. Granted, cultivators had good bodies, but Alex had a magnificent body. It was obvious he was working out in addition to cultivating, or he wouldn't have gotten such perfectly sculpted muscles. Let's start this, Alex taunted Michael to step forward. Fight. 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 The crowd erupted yet again, seeing the both of them walking towards each other to fight. Unlike Alex, Michael still hadn't unsheathed his swords. Diana and Ethan moved to the edge of their seats as they didn't take their eyes away from Michael. Every single person in the arena, including those who remained in the strategic hall, came outside to see the battle. Alex made a mistake by removing his armor. He gave up the advantage he had over Ghost. That was the difference between Alex and Michael. Michael would have never let go of his advantage. Thus, Michael still had APD to inject him with the potions such as healing potions. Considering APD was made of junk metal and connected with the system, the runes didn't pick up the APD. As far as the committee and the coordinators were concerned, the APD was just a black bracelet Michael wore for style. When Michael and Alex got close, Alex stabbed the spear aiming at Michael's chest. His thrust was so fast that it almost hit its target. With a sway of his body, Michael evaded the spear, yet Alex was quick enough to hit Michael with the staff. Following the staff attack, Alex roundhouse kicked Michael. Although Alex removed the armor above his waist, he still wore metal boots. Hence, when the kick landed on Michael's shoulder, Michael had pushed away a couple of meters while Michael felt his shoulder bones hurt. If the kick had a little more force and he didn't have APD, his shoulder would have been dislocated. Without giving a moment for Michael to breathe, Alex dashed at him with his spear pointing at Michael's throat. Everyone who saw Alex move knew it was not his intention to make Ghost surrender, but he wanted to kill him. Shaking his aching shoulder, Michael quickly evaded the spear's pointy end before hitting the spear on the shaft just below the blade using his other hand. Just when everyone thought Alex made a mistake by getting closer, Alex pulled back the spear and grabbed the spear in the middle. Ch, 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 ch. Alex started to attack Michael with a spear in his bare hand. Their clash produced continuous sounds as Michael felt like he was in a martial arts movie. Ouch, that has to hurt. After seeing Ghost and Alex exchange more than 40 blows in a minute, James Hall opened his mouth looking at the spear cut across Ghost's chest. Diana clenched her fist tighter as her nails started to sink in her palm. Blood spattered on the battle stage as Alex and Ghost continued to exchange blows. As time went by, more and more cuts appeared on Ghost's body. Still, they were at a stalemate that irritated Alex. Arg! Letting out a loud roar, Alex sent Ghost several meters back with a swift Spartan kick to his chest. He's good. Even the system flattered Alex after their exchange of blows. In 2 minutes they exchanged at least 100 kicks and punches. Both of them had sweat drops on their faces. Michael almost looked like a beggar with his long coat and turtleneck that had several cuts and holes. Thinking about surrendering? Yeah. Alex. 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 The thunderous cheers of Alex fans swept across the arena. The entire pavilion of Ghost's fans went silent looking at his state. Ethan was speechless as she stared at the bleeding cuts on Ghost with an aching heart. Ah! Michael suddenly burst into laughter to everyone's surprise. His laughter reverberated in the arena, silencing the cheers. Guys, I'm confused. Why is he laughing? Just like everyone else, Ishihara was also confused. I don't know. James Hall shook his head. Did you think I was fighting you seriously? As he said, Michael flexed his shoulders as the long coat and sheaths that had his 2 swords fell off. The audience could now clearly see the definition of his muscles through the cut and torn black turtleneck. Diana saw Michael ripping off his already ripped and torn turtleneck, revealing his upper body. The moment she saw his body, she felt a chilling running through her spine. Unlike Alex's body, which was smooth and fine, Ghost's body was riddled with scars. Compared to Michael's muscle definition, Alex was nowhere close to him. Each and every muscle in Michael's body looked created separately and glued together to form a perfect muscular body. In addition to muscle definition, every muscle in Michael's body was bigger than Alex. Diana's heart ached to see the scars on his body. She couldn't even imagine what her son has to go through to get all those scars. Michael slowed down the healing potion injection through APD. He didn't want the coordinators to suspect him of using healing potions. If the cuts disappeared to the naked eyes, they would definitely suspect something amiss. Hence, Michael let the cuts hurt and bleed. The cuts weren't deep enough to mortally wound Michael, yet they were deep enough to make him bleed. Coupled with the blood and the scars, his body attracted all the gazes like a super magnet. The girls who had sparkles in their eyes when they saw Alex's body had flames of passion and desire in their eyes looking at Michael. If Alex was hot like fire, Michael was hot like lava that melted the young girls' hearts. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 4,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points. The notification sound went crazy inside his head. After upgrading his spells and skill, he had 50,000 points remaining, but at the moment, the points were flying past the mark of 150,000 and didn't seem to slow down. I was just playing with a kid who has a spear. As Ghost spoke these words, Alex's smile froze on his face. The next moment, Diana saw Ghost stomp the stage beneath him as the stomp made the swords lying on the ground fly straight into his hand. It seemed like he was controlling the sword using an invincible force. Clang. Michael brushed his 2 swords together as they produced a stream of golden red sparks. The broadcasting tunes focused on Michael's face to broadcast his smile in the giant mirrors. Let's end this. Sorry I broke the chapter releasing pattern. I thought you guys and gals would love to see the fight. Let me know you want to see the fight in the very or after 2 Gaia chapters. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 348. Despite the blood dripping from the cuts on his chest and shoulder, Michael walked towards Alex with an amused grin on his face. Alex's biceps got bigger when he clenched the spear even tighter. This time Alex dashed at Michael with an extreme speed that many doubted it was even possible to move this fast without arch energy. From the beginning of the tournament, the arena never went silent, but at this moment, not a single sound could be heard in the arena. Even the commenters remained silent. All of the eyes were glued to Alex and Michael. It was the most anticipated scene that even made Norvin drop his fruit and stare at the fight. Just when the spear was a few inches away from Ghost's throat, he simply evaded the spear. However, he did not only evade at even greater speed but also knocked Alex on the head using the sword's hilt. Too slow, Michael snickered, making Alex immediately swing his spear. Yet again the people saw Ghost evade the spear without breaking a sweat. This time Michael smacked Alex on the back with his sword surface. Before even Alex could react to the first smack, he received another smack. The force of the smacks formed two red lines on Alex's flawless smooth fair skin. Michael was standing behind Alex, so Alex tried to hit Michael in the gut with the butt of the spear. He pulled the spear closer quickly. Ding. No matter how fast Alex moved, Michael simply swatted the spear with the flick of his sword. The clash between Michael's sword and Alex's spear produced sparks with a loud ting noise. Surrender now, Alex, Michael snickered before smacking Alex right on his face with his two swords. Alex was losing his cool because no matter how fast he moved, Ghost moved faster. The crowd was completely stunned by Ghost's speed. People who knew about swordsmanship were stunned by the level of sword mastery Michael was exhibiting. Especially the sword master of Aragoth, Darius was speechless. In his 70 years of training, he couldn't even come closer to the talent Ghost possessed in swords. Each of Ghost's moves seemed simple and elegant, yet only people like Darius understood how difficult it was to do what he was doing. Unlike many commoners were thinking, a sword was not the most powerful blade weapon, it was the spear. Spear was far superior to sword, yet Ghost's mastery over the sword completely overshadowed Alex's spearmanship. It would take decades of hard work to master one-handed sword skills, except Ghost was only 21 years old and he seemed to have mastered dual wielding. If Darius wasn't older than Ghost and didn't have pride and ego, he would have asked Ghost to take him as his disciple. Coupled with the fact he couldn't even touch Ghost, his words made Alex mad. I am giving you a chance, Alex. Thup. 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 Alex missed each swing of his spear but kept receiving smacks from Ghost's swords. Diana knew she had no right whatsoever to feel proud of her son, yet she did. To Ethan, every single move Ghost did remind himself of Harriet. He's our son, all right. A tiny teardrop formed in the corner of Ethan's eyes. Watching Ghost toying with Alex, Selena clenched her fist as veins on her forehead started to bulge out. Her entire body shivered in fury. Son of Thup. This time Ghost smacked Alex right on his mouth. Alex's anger exploded as he swung the spear in a crescent shape only to miss Michael completely. Alex misjudged the athleticism of Ghost. When he swung the spear, Ghost just bent his back like his spine was made of rubber to evade the spear completely. The spear could only brush past Ghost's nose. Diddle diddle, Ethan felt a chill running through his spine when he heard these words escape Ghost's mouth. Harriet Hunt aka Diana used to recite a rhyme before she went for the kill. He's gonna kill him. Claire's eyes went wide. She knew about Ghost's habit of reciting the small rhyme before killing someone. We are so. Alex saw Ghost's smile disappear from his face as he dashed at him. Alex tried to defend himself using his spear but ultimately failed because of Ghost's lightning speed. In a blink of an eye, Michael closed the gap between him and Alex. Little, and oh, Selena screamed standing on the Morningstar Pavilion. The moment the word little, Alex felt an excruciating pain in his heart and throat. The very next moment, the pain multiplied by several folds as Alex felt the grip he had on his spear loosen. He lost all of his strength. Arg, Alex blurted out, mouth full of blood. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Michael lifted Alex from the ground like skewered meat. The spear fell on the ground while Alex's blood oozed on Michael, bathing him in blood. Michael immediately twisted both the swords, leaving no chance for the coordinators to save Alex. Still, Michael didn't rely on this as he withdrew the sword that stabbed through Alex's throat. When he withdrew the sword, hot blood gushed out. Within a snap of time he stabbed Alex right between the eyes, ending Alex's life once and for all. Coordinators. It took a few moments for everyone to come out of their daze, including the commenters and coordinators. Ishihara immediately stood from her seat while screaming at the coordinators. Michael was completely covered in the blood oozing out of Alex's wounds. He looked like the devil incarnate in many people's eyes. A few moments after Alex closed his eyes, the coordinators landed with haste on the stage. Still, Michael didn't put down Alex's body. Diana's heart skipped a beat seeing her son like this. This was the dark side of him that she never wanted to see. Only Ashton had a grin on his face seeing Michael like this. In the giant mirrors, the crowd started at Michael's face without batting an eye. The dark red blood oozed on his face, painting his face red. When he smiled, many felt like fainting. It was so terrifying for the weak-hearted. You should warn your brother, Norvin said to Alicia with a grimace face. And Andrews, as silence enveloped the pavilion, Diana's serious voice drew the attention of Alicia. Meanwhile back in Gaia's cave, Noah was leaning on the cave's wall with folded arms. Gaia had black lines on her forehead after hearing Noah call her by her real name. She was still wearing the mask that Ghost gave her. Despite the mask, Noah found out her identity. She wondered how. Just when she thought she couldn't get into any more trouble, she fell into a deep pit of trouble. Among all the people, it had to be Noah who found her secret, a guy who not only connected to Guardians but also to her stepsister. In addition to her secret, he even saw the Hydra. Killing him would solve the problem, but Ghost warned her about Noah. At this moment, Gaia's instincts told her to heed Ghost's warning. Your sister and the whole Nagaland thinks they crippled your cultivation. They are in for a rude awakening. Noah chuckled while Vidora quickly flapped their wings to land on Gaia's lap. A three-headed Hydra, fancy, his words stunned Gaia. He sounded like he knew about Vidora's species. You're a long way from Ghost, does he know you're here? Noah walked towards the two dead bodies of the panthers while still maintaining eye contact with Gaia. Of course he doesn't. If he did, he wouldn't have sent you here. Especially if he knew, this was the place that took your mother away from you. You know your sister and father are pretty worried about you. Noah flicked his wrist as a green gourd appeared in his hand. On the other hand, Gaia couldn't bear to hear his nonsense anymore. Humph, worried? My loving sister threw me in jail while my father of the year crippled me. So pardon me for not believing the bullshit coming out of your mouth. Ha! Unexpectedly Noah burst into laughter before pouring a green liquid from the gourd onto the dead bodies. Your sister is naive and your father, well, I don't talk ill about others, but your father is a piece of work. I mean, what kind of father would cripple his firstborn? Gaia was surprised to hear these words from Noah, but she sensed there's a but coming. But you did commit crimes such as bribery, assassinations, and my favorite, mass murders, as he said. Noah threw the gourd with the dead bodies before snapping his finger. When he snapped, a spark of fire appeared from his hand and shot towards the dead bodies. The moment the sparks met the liquid, dark green flames engulfed the dead bodies. If you think serial rapists who raped and killed hundreds of my people, massacred innocent people in cold blood deserve a second chance, you are just as naive as Zanali. Gaia stood up, gently putting Vidora on her shoulder. Since he saw them, there was no need to hide them anyways. Did you know when you burned the prison to the ground, there was one family who went to say goodbye to their father and one family went there to see their brother before leaving Nagaland, hoping to start a new life? Gaia's heart skipped a beat as Noah continued. One family had two 11-year-old kids and a mother, and the other had one 8-year-old, two 15-year-old, and grandparents in their 60s. What did they do to deserve to be burned alive? If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 349, What are you talking about? Gaia grunted. She was unable to believe Noah. In her lifetime, she had never taken an innocent life. When she heard that she was responsible for killing several innocent people, she couldn't even breathe normally. Here, Noah flicked his wrist as a parchment appeared in his hand. He threw the parchment to Gaia. Her hands shivered. Mustering all the courage in every fiber of her body, she opened the parchment. The parchment had the crest of Nagaland, a cobra coiling around the golden dagger. Under the crest was a long list of names. She didn't need an introduction to those names. They were the names of people in the prison she burned down to the ground. Their names were in red, but when her eyes came to the end of the list, there were several names written in green ink. These names she didn't recognize. That was the list created by your own elites, the team your mother formed. The crest on the top was proof enough for Gaia that this parchment was created by the elites. The crest might seem simple, but it was actually a rune, hence it was damn hard to forge it elsewhere. Only the elites had the knowledge to create the logo. The elites was a group of highly trained Nagas that only answered to the queen. They were the symbol of courage, mercy, justice, faith, power, and hope. Gaia's mother formed this elite group to protect the kingdom from threats inside and outside the kingdom. When she formed the group, she wanted Gaia to lead them in the future. But her untimely demise and Gaia's father's second marriage let Gaia's stepmother control the elites. Since the elites were bound by honor, they answered to Gaia's stepmother as she was the queen of Nagaland. A tear formed in each eye before falling onto the parchment. It was a tear of self-blame and shock. People think me as a self-righteous prick, but they fail to understand that I'm like this because I don't want to be the reason for an innocent to suffer. Noah said in a serious tone, sometimes killing one evil becomes a reason for 100 more evil to emerge. And killing one innocent is like letting 100 evil triumph. Michael and Noah had completely different perspectives on this. As far as Michael was concerned, if killing 100 evil costs one innocent life, he would kill 100 evil. But if it was Noah, he would save that one innocent life at the cost of letting 100 evil go. Why are you telling her these? I couldn't bear to see Gaia sad. Don't even think about ratting her out. Ghost will kill you, Sarba snapped as he bore his teeth at Noah. However, Noah just smiled. If I wanted to rat you out, I would have done it a long time ago. Ghost saved my sister and mother, I'm grateful to him. This is me returning the favor. No one will hear from me that you are Gaia. But if you want to hide your identity forever, you need to find a better mask. Or you will end up hurting him when the elites show on your doorstep someday. Gaia felt a chill running through her spine, but when she saw Ghost's smiling face in her mind, her fear and sadness disappeared. She trusted he would overcome anything. Unlike some girls who would only bring trouble to the guy, she wanted to stop all the troubles before they could reach Ghost. I bet you're not here to tell me this. Gaia finally took her gaze away from the parchment to look at Noah. Your father is dying. Gaia's heart skipped a beat yet another time when he dropped another bomb on him. Only thing that can save him is the heart of the five-headed serpent. And I guess you're here for that same five-headed serpent I'm looking for. If we look for the serpent in our own ways, we might end up getting killed, but if we combine our forces, we can get what we both want. What happened to him? Instead of responding to Noah's offer to work together, Gaia asked about her father. Someone poisoned him. Gaia couldn't help clenching her fist when a sudden burst of anger exploded within her. She hated her father, yet when she heard someone poisoned him, her blood boiled. I know you can't complete your Naga transformation without the heart dash. You can take it, Gaia interjected Noah. This shall be my last filial act as his daughter. One day I will rub the fact I let him live on his face. Gaia put the parchment in her space ring instead of giving it to him back. Why are you here alone anyway? Where are your guardian buddies? Gaia leaned on the wall asking Noah. Although she asked casually, she wanted to learn more about Noah because she had a weird feeling about him. As far as she was concerned, he would die fighting the five-headed serpent with his core formation level 4 cultivation. In her mind, he would make a great distraction by being the five-headed serpent's snack. Where are we going next? Ayag asked. Ayag still didn't trust Noah, but she was not stupid to let go of help in this place. There is a city right in the center of the fire realm, Hell City, Noah said. Oh, so there is actually a city in this godforsaken place? Ayag was surprised. She hadn't expected this at all. Hell City is a unique existence. Ancient devils will not enter the city no matter what. That's why it has become a gathering place for all humans and other races. Supposedly, this Hell City is the safest place in Fire Realm, and as long as you stay within the city, you won't have to worry about being attacked by beasts, and your safety will be guaranteed. The tunnel leading to the outside world only opens once a year, therefore Hell City has become the most important place to protect. But now, it has become the most dangerous area in Fire Realm, no different than the deepest area of Fire Realm. How did that happen? Ayag asked while Gaia remained silent, letting Noah do the explaining to Ayag. She wanted to remain silent, facing the various emotions surging in her heart. Very simple. Where there are humans, there is trouble. In Fire Realm, you can find trouble anywhere. Between ancient beasts, between humans and other races, between humans and humans. Blood is spilled everywhere. There are no rules here, only raw slaughter. In order to survive in the Fire Realm, you need powerful strength. Right now, there are all kinds of bad and good people mixed in Hell City. Some are vicious criminals who were exiled here by one of the great 9 clans, or some genius disciples from some big sect who's looking to forge themselves in the fire of real battle experience. When so many powerful people are mixed together in a single place, conflicts are inevitable, Noah explained. Cain carefully listened to every single one of his words. He could understand the situation here. There were no rules in Fire Realm, and the most important thing here was strength and ability. Without it, one would be nothing but prey to the strong. Although Hell City could help a person escape from the attacks of demons and devils, it couldn't help them escape from conflicts between humans. There might be something that instigated the trouble in the first place, Ayag said. It's the damn Thusians. The word Thusian stopped Gaia's train of thoughts. The pain, the anger, the fury, and everything Ghost was feeling flashed across her mind. He gave a small taste of his emotions a long time ago, yet she could still feel everything like they happened to her. Thusians? They've been waging war on small factions and realms like this to bolster their power. Until recently they've been only targeting small factions, but now they are waging war on many kingdoms in the Azer continent. It's only a matter of time before they start a war in Elon. Gaia began to worry about Ghost. She doubted he would do something suicidal, yet she wanted to be there with him. Now she wanted more than anything to get stronger. If she was weaker than him, she would just be a hindrance. After getting stronger, it would become a different story though. I thought it's your guild's job to stop wars, Gaia snickered. Guardians? Am righteous, not stupid. They lost their purpose a long time ago. Now they are just corrupted politicians who wouldn't raise a finger without getting something in return. For a moment Gaia wasn't sure what she just heard. She never expected Noah to loathe the Guardians because he's one of them. Seeing the stunned look on Gaia's face, Noah smiled. I didn't join Guardians to earn millions of gold or get beauties. I have those. I joined Guardians because I want to reform them from the ground up. I owe it to someone. Just when Gaia was about to ask him something, Noah interjected, You want to ask why I'm telling you these, right? I'm telling you this because in the future I would like to work with Ghost to help the people. I know he's building his own empire and I want us to work together for the greater good. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 350. The Fire Realm had no sunrise or beautiful morning like in the outside world. The red sky just got brighter, indicating that the dark night has gone. When the cave got brighter, Gaia and Noah ended their meditation and stood up to leave the cave. Stay inside, Gaia warned Vidora, especially Iag, before putting them back into her saddlebag. They soon left the cave heading towards Hell City. Considering flying might attract the crows, they chose to walk. They both knew it would take a long time, but it was the safest way to reach Hell City without getting into any trouble. Hey, I still don't understand why people choose to come to this dump? Iag craned her neck up to peek outside. Most of them don't choose. 2/3 of the people here are criminals who were exiled from various kingdoms. Even Guardians sent the ruthless criminals here instead of putting them in prison, Noah said while walking in front of them. I thought criminals supposed to be in prisons? Prisons are expensive and a hassle to maintain. They would get overcrowded in a snap. Why can't the rulers sentence them to death? Because most of them are stupid, Gaia snickered. And stupidest ones believe those criminals deserve a second chance. Noah chose not to put his head into their conversation. I hope you have gold coins in your ring. I'm starving and I'd literally kill someone to eat, Iag complained. Gold coins mean shit here, brat. What? Iag almost shouted. People deal in beast cores here. Don't worry, I'm sure the glass wraith core will be enough for us to survive and treat you to a meal. Good, because your hands are beginning to look real juicy. Iag let out a burst of evil laughter. Keep them hidden. Although many don't know their species, they would still hunt you down to sell them as an exotic pet, or worse, they will capture them and do experiments. Iag frowned hearing Noah's words. The Guardians have a safe house in Hell City. Well, get a takeaway. Whoa, slow down. I'm not gonna stay in a Guardian safe house. What if it's a trap? Gaia stopped following Noah, then rent a tavern and stay there. If I wanted to capture you, I just need to tip the elites and they will do the rest. Hell City was located right in the center of Fire Realm. It was a huge city that covered more than a few hundred miles in circumference. It looked like a historical city with dulled colors, scars and marks everywhere. It was the remains of time, which proved that Hell City had been around for a long period of time. At least, it had been here since the discovery of the Fire Realm. No fights from here, Gaia wanted, patting the saddlebag. Just get me something to eat, Iag whispered silently. I will now shut up, Gaia yelled at Iag as they walked towards the city's main gate. Hell City's main gate was actually a huge breach on the city wall, and it didn't fit the standards of a city gate. When Noah got closer to the main, his expression became a focused one, and a grin emerged on his face. Why are you grinning? Gaia asked. She was kind of familiar with Noah's expression. Every time Ghost got something good, he would smile just like this. She didn't want to admit it, but Ghost and Noah seemed the same and opposite at the same time. There are hidden treasures in this city, I can sense it. Instead of hiding the truth, Noah told her the truth. You can sense treasures? What kind of treasures? The kind that helps our fight with the five-headed serpent easier, Noah said to Gaia. I was thinking about why those beasts don't attack Hell City. There must be some reason behind it, and perhaps it's related to this hidden treasure. He continued, we must get it before someone else does. Noah's eyes lit up. Don't get too excited. If no one unearthed the treasure to this day, it must be guarded or hidden carefully. I doubt with our current strength and abilities, we can get it. Gaia dampened Noah's enthusiasm. I'm lucky, Noah smiled. Luck? Are you fucking kidding me? We can't depend on luck. You know what Ghost said about luck? What? Noah asked. He said that I don't believe in luck, I believe in hard work. Stop right there. Right at this moment, a group of 10 middle-aged men leaped out from the dark bushes on their path, blocking Gaia and Noah. This is a robbery. You two hand over all your belongings now. If not, we will take it from your corpses. A man with a ferocious scar on his face threatened them. Gaia looked at the 10 men frowning. They were all at core formation stage 10. It was true that they were 10 and they were 2, and in normal situations, 10 core formation stage warriors had a higher chance to defeat the core strengthening stage cultivator if they fought with coordination. However, Gaia and Noah were not normal, they were 2 abnormal monsters. Looking at them, Noah burst out into laughter. Pretty good luck for them to bump into some robbers right as they arrive in the city. These 10 men had pretty strong cultivation bases, therefore he knew they would have more monster cores with them. Fuck you luck, Noah. Welcome to Hell City. I heard about bandits in Hell City. Some people group together and hide outside the main gate, and when they see someone with weaker cultivation bases or loners like us, they will strike and rob them. I also heard these men are really smart, they know about all the alliances and their strengths in detail. They know who can be offended and who can't be offended like the back of their palm. However, it seemed like today was their bad day. Noah still had his usual calm smile on his face. If you give everything you steal, I will go easy on you. You know it'll be hard to survive in Fire Realm with broken bones and no monster cores. Noah shrugged his shoulders, then he looked at Gaia. He could tell she was ready to take out her bow and kill them on the spot. Broken bones? Since you shitheads decided to rob me, I'm gonna rob you and send you to another hell. The 10 men were startled to hear Gaia. Despite her cultivation base, the 10 of them were underestimating her because she was a girl. They didn't know what she's capable of. The superiority of numbers on their side blinded their eyes. What the fuck? How could a bitch be so aggressive? Hey, what the fuck? We are the ones robbing you, not the other way around. Look carefully at the current situation and the difference between our strengths. Hurry up, hand over all your belongings and we will spare your lives. If not, well, it's perfectly normal for people to die in Fire Realm. Let's kill him and keep the bitch alive. She could entertain us for a few days. It has been so long I felt the touch of a woman. Noah turned to see Gaia shivering in anger. She was already in a bad mood by hearing the truth about the innocent people she killed, the state of her father, and him finding out her true identity. These guys just poured oil into her flaming fury. Are you sure you want to piss her off more than you already have? Noah asked, rubbing his temples. Damn it, looks like these idiots don't even know how to judge a situation. Let's teach them a lesson. Brothers, let's do it, strip everything they got and kill him. We can keep the girl alive. The man who looked like the leader of this group shouted out loudly. 6 men dashed towards Noah while 4 picked Gaia as their target. They dashed at Gaia, licking their lips. Poison flame, Gaia didn't even try to hide her spells. She just went straight for the killing move. As far as she was concerned, Noah could run away or die of poisoning. The 4 who dashed at Gaia were stunned to see the emerald green smoke coming out of her mouth. However, it was too late as what they thought was a cloud of gas turned out to be a poisonous flame. Noah didn't expect her to cast such a powerful spell in such a short time too. He dashed away to avoid the flame. The emerald green mixed with her poison was too powerful as the 4 bandits melted in a few blinks of an eye. The other 6 were stunned to see their colleagues die such a horrible death in such a short time. Just as they were stunned, 2 silver arrows materialized in Gaia's hands. Die motherfuckers! She leaped into the air before landing in front of 2 bandits who were a couple of meters away from their colleagues. When they realized she was in front of them, she stabbed the arrows straight into their throats. Die, die, die. She withdrew the arrows as blood gushed out of their throats, yet she continued to stab them again and again. The blood gushed out from their bodies, painted her fair skin and the silver dress red. Zanali was right. She is a murdering psychopath. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 351. After spending a day without going anywhere enjoying the tournament, the crowd finally got a 6 hours break. Of course, the crowd was reluctant to leave as the tournament was getting better and better by rounds. Unlike the last tournament where the participants had to find their own room, which led to unnecessary battles and enmity, this time the tournament committee gave room for each participant in their own expenses. At the moment, Michael was sitting in a lavish room. The large bed on the left side corner was neatly tied like in 5-star hotels. The room smelled of jasmine and freshness. In addition to the bed, several pieces of furniture such as a large round table, sofas, and 7-feet mirrors were neatly arranged to make the room cozy yet spacious. The golden rays of light coming from the majestic chandelier lit the room as Michael was sitting in front of the round table flaunting his muscular upper body. Damn it, I need to fix this before going to bed. Michael looked at the broken pieces of APD lying on the table. He was still drenched in the blood of Alex. When he fought with Alex, the APD got broken by Alex's spear. It was nothing but broken pieces of junk metal. And where is this lizard? He cursed after waiting for Nightmare to show up. After waiting for half an hour, he could kinda guess that the dragon had fallen asleep with Claire. After the battles, he reeked of blood. He liked to take a shower now more than anything else, but unfortunately, the room had no shower as the cultivators used arch energy to clean their bodies. Although using arch energy was efficient and not tiresome, Michael used to take showers. His mind always calmed when standing under the shower, letting the water droplets wash the blood and his tension away. The most he could do at the moment was wipe off the blood from his body and use the arch energy to clean himself. Fuck, I have no healing potion left, Michael cursed looking into his system storage. It had been so long until he restocked the 90% pure healing potion in his system storage. He was pretty busy dealing with Guardians and Hades. Okay, I will fix the APD first and then brew a new badge of healing potions, Michael thought in his mind. Sliding the chair back, he seated himself. A few deep breaths made him feel slightly rested. That snake better come back to me in one piece, Michael mumbled while cleaning the blood off of his arms. Usually she would take care of him by giving him playful massages and cleaning the blood off of places he couldn't reach. Knock, knock, knock. His train of thoughts regarding Gaia's whereabouts got interrupted by a trio of gentle knocks on the door. He willed the system to show him the environmental map as he saw 3 figures waiting outside the door. He activated his X-ray eyes to see 2 female figures and 1 male figure. One of the women was at the core strengthening stage level 6, which caused a frown to form on Michael's forehead. Who is there? Michael asked while pulling the swords on the table closer to him. It's. The man outside opened his mouth, changed his mind, then closed his mouth. Ghost, it's Diana Winston. When Michael heard the familiar voice, he was surprised. However, after giving some thoughts about Andrew's situation, he just sighed. Ghost wanted to say give me a minute so he could put on a robe to cover his body, yet the man opened the door quickly. It was more like he barged in. Michael would have sent a bolt of lightning through the man if he didn't know Diana. The man who abruptly opened the door was a dashing man who seemed to be in his mid-30s or late 30s. He was wearing a rainy cloud gray V-neck shirt that covered his obvious chiseled chest. On top of the V-neck, he draped on a long white fur coat that looked cozy. His black pants contradicting the white coat still formed an unusual alliance to make him look stunning. Just like Michael, the man sported a stubble beard. His shoulder-length black hair wasn't too neatly combed nor too messy. His bright blue eyes stared at Michael while his facial muscles twitched to form a gentle smile. The man seemed to have inherited all the good genes to be born with a perfect jawline and a handsome face. It was obvious the man was Diana's husband, Lord Ethan Winston. There was something different about Diana though. Michael couldn't put his finger into it, but he knew something's different about her other than her shocking jump from core formation stage to core strengthening stage level 7 in such a short amount of time. Everyone had their own secrets, thus Michael chose not to mind her secret of such heaven-defying cultivation speed. Beside Diana was standing Imelda, the elder sister of Diana. For some reason she was avoiding direct eye contact with Michael. Lord Ethan, I presume. Michael reached his hand out to shake, but Ethan remained still looking speechless. Ethan, Diana stepped forwards before putting her hand on Ethan's shoulder. Yeah, her touch quickly brought Ethan back from his daze. Ghost, Ethan shook his hand, but to Michael's surprise he suddenly embraced him. What's happening? Michael mumbled, being squeezed by Ethan. Ethan, let him go, Imelda squealed. It's just he wants to thank you for everything you did for us. He's just feeling a little bit emotional. Diana tried to make the situation less awkward for Ghost. She didn't want Ghost to become suspicious of them. You're getting blood on your coat, Lord Ethan, Ghost said as Ethan finally realized what he had done on impulse and let Michael go. Please take a seat. Michael gestured at Ethan and the ladies towards the sofa beside them. He then quickly took a towel to wipe off the blood from his body. After they seated themselves on the sofa, Michael pulled the wooden chair and sat backward on the chair. Congratulations for getting yourself allied with the Kane family, Ghost, Diana smiled. Yeah, after what happened to Alex, it would be good to have an ally like Kane family behind you, Ethan nodded after Diana. After Michael killed Alex, everyone thought Ghost was done for, as Alex was the next heir to the Fisher family. However, as promised, Ashton personally came to the battle stage and announced that Ghost would be the best man for Adam Kane at his wedding. In addition to announcing this, Ashton also made sure everyone understood that Ghost is Kane's family and his personal friend. Hence, even if the Fisher family tried to avenge Michael by trying to kill him, they would face the wrath of the Kane family, which would soon ally with House Oswin to become the strongest family in the royal land. Selena fainted on the spot after screaming out loud Alex's name. The Morningstar sect brought her away from the battle stage before another battle between Ghost and Selena exploded. The Morningstar sect had already lost a star disciple and they didn't want to lose Selena too. Many people, including some disciples of Morningstar, sided with Ghost, though, since he did give Alex the chance to surrender. Moreover, everyone knew Alex was going to kill him and never would have given Ghost the chance to surrender. The coordinators who oversaw the battle were going to end up biting the bullet, as the committee would blame them for not stopping the battle before Ghost killed Alex. Well, Alex didn't give me any choice, did he? Michael was still cleaning the blood off of his arms while talking to them. He had no idea that he was talking to his father, mother, and aunt. They were his family. Diana and Ethan wanted to hug him tight as they could and say he's their son. But how could they do that? They abandoned him. At least Diana was thinking she had abandoned him. However, only Imelda knew what really happened that night when Noah and Ghost were born. Every scar Diana saw in his body squeezed her heart. It felt like someone slowly stabbing her heart with a rusty nail. His body was riddled with scars. Both the scars he got from the earth and the scars Aubers got started to appear on his body. He could remove those scars with the help of a potion, but Michael wanted them to remain as they were because it reminded him of all the pain, struggles he went through in his life. I doubt you left your security detail to come here to talk about Alex? Ghost asked with a sliver of a smile on his face. While Michael was wiping off the blood from his right chest, Ethan noticed a J-shaped burn wound on Ghost's skin. That burn wound seemed nastier than his other scars. It was almost a couple of inches inside Ghost's skin. This one? Michael looked at the scar on his right chest. It brought some bad memories back before his eyes. If anyone else asked about it, Michael wouldn't have answered, but since Ethan and the Winston family could be another ally for him, he chose to answer them. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 352, I got this scar when I was 9 years old. Michael touched the scar. I'm not gonna tell my sad story, but let's just say liquid hot metal is bad for skin. Michael didn't want to say the drug dealers poured hot liquid metal on him because he dropped a pack of cocaine when he was smuggling it under his shirt. He still remembers the pain vividly. He cried so hard that after lasting for a couple of minutes, he lost consciousness. When he woke up the next day, he had a crude badge wrapped on his chest. The drug dealers wouldn't care about his health, they just wanted him to stay alive so they could use him as a mule in the future. Until he was 14 years old, he lived the life of a child slave. Hence his hate for slavery. Who did this to you? Ethan felt the air around him suddenly getting chilly. If Michael was good at hiding his killing intent, Diana was a master at it. Only because Ethan knew her so well that he could sense the killing intent. To Michael, it seemed like she was asking the question having no intention behind it. They are all dead, he said. When Imelda opened her mouth, changed her mind and closed her mouth. Why are you here, Lord Ethan? He asked with a smile. He wanted to know what they want, even though he knew it would be related to Andrews. Andrews unexpectedly, it was Imelda who answered Michael quickly before Ethan or Diana could open their mouths. Michael turned his gaze at the worried face of Imelda. Is that so? Michael stopped wiping off the blood as he put the white towel around his neck. But what can I do? I already saved him once. You can't expect me to save him every time he gets into trouble. Even if I wanted to, I can't do anything now. Although Ghost still had a calm smile on his face, Ethan could see the coldness in his eyes. If Andrews got in his way to get the championship, there was no doubt that Ghost would do the worst to Andrews in a heartbeat. But I am sorry, Lady Imelda, if you really want to help Andrews, talk to him. When he comes to the final to face me, if he wants what he's fighting for, he should give his all to beat me. His words and tone were not neither too polite nor rude, it was a warning. The images of a 7-feet-tall man in full black metal armor holding a warhammer flashed across Imelda's eyes. These were the flashes she wanted to forget. These were the images that kept her away for so many years. There were the images that gave nightmares to her. These were the images the Sky Hall showed her, the Dark Lord. She didn't want to believe her sister's son would be the Dark Lord, yet she couldn't help seeing the flashes of the Dark Lord in Ghost. We are not here to ask you to lose the final, Ghost. We just don't want anything to happen to Andrews. Diana placed her hand on Imelda's shoulder, wordlessly telling her to calm down. Can we talk honestly, Lady Diana, Lord Ethan, Lady Imelda? That's what we want, Ethan quickly said. Even if he couldn't be a father to Ghost, he at least wanted to be a good friend to him. The night Andrews killed, what about him? What about his family? There's no right or wrong in this world. Everyone's the hero in their own story who does what's necessary to get what they want, just like Andrews did. The three of them had no words to rebuke. After all, Andrews did kill the knight. If Andrews wants to get what he wants, there is only one way. Michael paused. What is that? Imelda asked after a couple of moments of awkward silence. Simple, he just has to kill me. Michael shrugged while the trio was stunned to hear his words. Because he can't break me or make me surrender. Diana knew very well what her son is capable of long before Ethan and Imelda. However, since the two of them saw what he did to Alex and how easily he killed Alex, they knew there's no chance in hell for Andrews to defeat Ghost. To the last round, no one could guess his real power. Except for his cultivation level, none knew what he was capable of. Even Michael did not know how powerful he is right now after upgrading all of his spells. He had spent 300,000 badass points to become immune to all the attacks of a core formation stage warrior. According to the system, he could even fight with a level 3 core strengthening stage warrior without losing. What would you do to him? Imelda asked after taking a couple of long breaths. There are ways to win the round without killing the opponent, Lady Imelda. Michael smiled, which sent a chill running through Imelda's spine. She should have felt better after hearing his answer, but something caused her to be worried about Andrews more. Master Go Dash. Suddenly Ricky entered the room only to be shocked by the three of them. Forgive me, Master Ghost, I didn't know you were with guests. Ricky gave a small bow towards Ethan, Diana, and Imelda. It's okay, what's the matter? Ghost was glad Ricky interrupted their conversation. It was obvious their love for Andrews would eventually lead them to ask for something he couldn't offer them. Although Ethan and Diana didn't seem like typical lord and lady, Michael still didn't want to take a chance in pissing them off, especially after knowing Noah's secret. There's someone here to meet you. She seems like she won't leave until she meets you. Ethan let out an awkward weird grinning. He was thinking about his son having a one-night stand. It was pretty normal for boys like him to enjoy the company of beauty from time to time. However, Diana frowned. Just looking at Ghost's face, she could tell he was surprised. Moreover, Diana heard about how deeply he and Elia are in love. It seems like we have to take our leave. Imelda quickly stood up. She was too freaked out by Ghost as she wanted to get out of his sight as quickly as possible. She almost pulled Diana by her hands while Ethan walked towards Ghost. Michael also stood up to send them on their way. When Ethan got closer, he put his hand on Michael's shoulder. Take care of yourself. Just as these words escaped Ethan's mouth, a warm sensation brushed past Michael as he felt refreshed. He looked down to see all the bloodstains were gone. You too, Lord Ethan, Michael nodded. If Michael had known the man in front of him was his father, he would have reacted differently. Right at this moment, Ethan was a caring man in Ghost's eyes. After the trio left Michael's room, he put on a black full-sleeve V-neck t-shirt and rolled the sleeves up to his elbow. He was looking at his face in the mirror while whistling some random tone that came to his mind. Suddenly though, his whistling stopped as his brows creased. He sensed a powerful entity approaching him. He willed the system to show the environmental scanning map to see an overwhelmingly powerful entity slowly walking towards him. The moment something goes wrong, buy and activate the teleportation scroll system. As you wish, the system replied to his telepathic order. He didn't turn back to see the door but took the swords in his hands just in case. In a couple of moments that lasted longer than he liked, a figure draped in dark brown robes entered the room. The figure was covered from head to toe as there wasn't a spot that showed the figure's skin. The darkness provided by the hood and cloak completely hid the face, but not for long as the figure slowly removed the hood covering their head. Layla Alden. Michael looked at the beautiful face staring at him in the mirror. Ever since he came to this world, he had seen countless beauties, yet Layla was the only one who could challenge Gaia in terms of beauty. This woman had the womanly grace that Gaia lacked. Divine wrath. In a blink of an eye, Layla raised her hand, sending a powerful blast of golden energy at Michael. Lightning dash. Despite Michael's quick reflexes, the golden energy blast hit him, yet he felt nothing. Layla's cold expression soon took a turn to show the expression of utter shock. The mirror behind Michael obliterated into millions of light specks when the energy blast hit the mirror. After all these times, she hoped she could hurt him, unlike when she was inside the treacherous ocean. But she was proven wrong. He still seemed to be immune to her attacks. Regardless of her bitter understanding, she wanted to cast another spell. Yet when she moved her lips, she felt cold metal on her throat as she saw Ghost standing only a couple of inches away from her. She could feel his hot breath on her face. Do that again if you want me to cut Andrews into pieces. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 353 Good vs. Evil. A few moments after keeping the sword against her flawless throat, Michael threw the swords on the bed. No matter how powerful she was, she wouldn't be able to hurt him, he knew that. Hence, he didn't feel threatened by her, not even a bit. It was a good mirror, a pity. Michael kicked the pieces of broken mirror away before stomping the ground. The force of his stomp made the chair lying on the ground stand straight as he sat looking at Claire. He then put his legs on the table before him. How did you know? Layla asked him in a cold voice. A body-strengthening stage cultivator suddenly became core formation level 2 and you show up at my doorstep. I connected the dots and made a guess. It seems like I was right. Michael leaned back on the chair supporting his head with his hands. Why are you here, Layla? You know you can't hurt me. Yes. Layla stepped forward. Looking directly into his eyes, she snapped her fingers as the door shut close. I don't know why I can't hurt you, but that doesn't mean I can't hurt you at all. For the first time, Michael saw her smile. Yet it was not a smile that radiated warmth. On the contrary, it was cold. You really seem to care about what's her name, the little one, Cindy? I can't start with her, then kill your precious girlfriend. She walked towards the window with her hands behind her back. I'd probably become tired and finish off your entire sect. Their deaths will be quick and painless. After all, they don't deserve a painful death as you do. Then you might feel how I feel after you took my purity. She turned back to see Ghost's expression. She hoped to see him become enraged, yet all she saw was a calm smile. Obviously I can't stop you if you want to do everything you said. However, what I can do is remain patient. If I put my mind to it, I can be patient for years, decades, even centuries. As he was speaking, he took one sword and brushed it using the other sword. He seemed like a butcher sharpening his cleaver. I'll wait for you to forget about me and become happy. Then when you are laughing and being really happy, I will come for you. I will start with you precious disciples first, then everyone on your island, then everyone you care about, next everyone who cares about you, and cherry on top, everyone you know. And all of their deaths will be long and painful. Layla's heart shuddered. She could feel that he meant every single word he spoke. Finally, when you feel utter despair, when your heart becomes numb seeing all those deaths, when you want nothing but death, I will kill you. And I can get really creative when it comes to killing people. The smile he let out after finishing his words sent a chill running through her spine. She had never sensed such evilness from a person ever before. It seemed like the Devil King himself was sitting in front of her. You are not a human, you're a demon child. Ha ha ha, demon child? Michael let out a burst of devilish laughter that echoed through the room. Honey, sometimes Devil himself sits back on his throne and admires my work. In his fucking competition. Layla opened her mouth, changed her mind and stood in silence. For a few moments she couldn't utter a word. I may not be evil like you, but what made you think I care about Andrews? Layla asked. Her cold tone didn't change at all. Because you belong to the category of good people. If you weren't one, you wouldn't have been playing the mysterious doctor in Royal Land, tending to the sick and weak. Seeing the smirk on his face, Layla felt her anger boiling within her. She wanted nothing but to hurt him. Nonetheless, she knew he was right. She was not nearly as evil as him. In her whole life she helped people, never hurt them. When Andrews step onto the battle stage, I will break him. The final isn't going to be an interesting one, it's going to be one-sided ass kickery. Humph, she snickered. He will defeat you because he's fighting for love. True love can overcome anything. Ha! She clenched her fist so hard seeing him burst into laughter yet again as her nails started to plunge into her soft skin. True love can overcome anything? Ah. Are you delirious? Honey, love means shit in front of power. I am gonna show it to you in the finals. You devil, don't you have any feelings at all? You never showed any feelings when you took my purity. You never even flinched an eye when I told you I would kill the people who care about you. Do you even care about anyone in this world other than yourself? Her words get colder and colder. For a few moments, Michael remained silent as she went on. You act as if you care about those people, but you don't give a damn about them. You are putting up a facade to hide the darkness inside you. You want everyone to believe you're a human, yet you're not 1 inch. You're here to make a report on me? Michael tilted his head. I'm gonna stop you. Until I came here, I was just returning a favor. But now, I'm going to do everything in my power to help Andrews win the championship. I'm gonna take this championship away from you. She stomped the ground as the bits and pieces of mirror brushed past Michael, giving him a warning. At this moment, she would do anything to wipe off that smirk from his face. After this conversation, she almost went back on her decisions that would change her life forever. Poor guy is gonna end up as collateral. Michael really felt pity for Andrews. In the game between him and Layla, it's Andrews who was going to end up hurt. As far as Michael was concerned, no matter what Layla does, he had the system with him. After upgrading the skills and spells, he was basically a god among core formation warriors. In the battle between good and evil, good always wins. Remember this, as she said. She flicked her wrist as a golden ray of light enveloped her body. The light was so bright that it made Michael close his eyes. When he opened his eyes after a couple of seconds, she was nowhere to be seen. Is she watching too many dramas or something? Michael snickered. After Layla left, Michael focused on fixing the APD and brewing another batch of healing potions. The two tasks took almost 2 hours as he went to bed way past midnight. His brain and body screamed at him to take a rest. He could have meditated like the rest of the world, but he chose to sleep like he's used to. Even after coming to this world, he maintained some of the habits of the earth, such as showering, sleeping, and enjoying every earthly pleasure he could. Despite breaking several people's bones, brutally killing Alex and challenging Layla, when he closed his eyes on the bed, he slept like a baby. The next morning, the curtains added an orange glow to the morning light, every morning a perfect sunrise. The brightness of the morning made him slowly open his eyes. The scenery reminded Michael of the times he slept in a beach hut, watching the ocean emerge under the golden shimmer. For a moment his mind conjured the rhythmic waves, soft on the sandy shore, and felt his heartbeat at the same slow pace. He breathed in deeply. A new day in this world had begun. He reached his hand out to the fabric, noticing how up close the light pours through every open space between fibers, no different from how it once came through the beach hut walls, illuminating like brilliant fireflies each dawn. The material was warm beneath his fingers, and when the sun flooded the room, painting the colors anew, he felt a little of those golden rays soak into his skin. Getting up from the bed, Michael willed the system to give him the leather pouch that contained water. After leaving the bed, he continued his usual schedule, such as brushing his teeth, combing his hair to look good in the mirror when beating the crap out of people. Since they had no shower, he cleaned himself using the arch energy before putting up a new black turtleneck, a new long coat, and a new pair of boots. Without a worry, he bought everything from the system as he had thousands of badass points to spend. Although he bought a new long coat, he cut the embodiment Gaia stitched in his torn long coat and attached it to the new coat with the help of the system. It might not look like AG as she intended it to look, but it reminded Michael of Gaia. Unlike Layla said, he cared about people, especially Gaia. There wasn't a single minute passed by without him missing the snake. He gently brushed the embodiment on his chest as a smile emerged on his face. Soon, the smile turned into a snicker. We will meet soon, young master, haha. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 354. The arena was louder than the first day. Everyone thought the first round would be boring, yet all of them were proven wrong. Because of Ghost, everyone was thrilled to witness the core formation tournament rather than the body-strengthening one. As the time passed by, the crowd was settling into their seats. Just in a couple of minutes, the entire arena was filled once again. There wasn't a single empty chair in the arena. Welcome back to the championship tournaments, ladies and gentlemen, Ishihara's sweet voice echoed through the arena. Without further ado, let's get into the structure of the third round, James Hall commented, looking at Darius. As you all know, 20 participants qualified for the third round. Among the 20, just like the second round, we will have one-on-one battles. 10 participants will face the other 10. The winners will be qualified for the quarterfinal. Darius stopped commentating for a few moments to let the information sink into their heads. Until now, the rounds were designed to simulate the environment of the southern continent. Moving forward, the participants won't be restricted from using spells, pills, and potions. In a real battle, you must use every opportunity to enhance your prowess. A single potion might decide the outcome of a battle between two equally powerful cultivators. Darius started to explain the rules and regulations of the third round. Can't hear truer words. When two cultivators at the same cultivation stage and level fight, what would decide the victory is who has a better spell, who has a better weapon, and who has better armor. You'd either need money or luck to get better things. It's not fair for everyone, but life's not fair. Michael leaned on the wall, listening to James Hall's words. What he said was indeed true. Life is not fair. He agreed with everything James Hall said except the part where he made it seem like one could get anything with money or luck. It was not true at all, because without hard work, money and luck meant shit. When Michael came to this world, he had nothing. Now he had an empire in the making. Of course, the system played a crucial role, but even if he hadn't gotten the system, he would have still reached the top. What system he had when he became the #1 hitman in the world? After recent events, the tournament committee decided to put a healing array on the battle stage, Darius said. His words caused a commotion among the crowd. Some knew about the healing array while most of the commoners didn't even hear about a healing array before. Can you explain to people like me who have no idea what you are talking about, Darius? Ishihara chuckled. It performs a simple action actually. It'll keep the participants from dying. If you're badly injured and only a few inches away from walking into the death's door, the healing array will provide just enough healing to keep you alive until help arrives. After Darius explained about the healing array's function, Ishihara questioned, what about killing blows? If a participant tried to cleave the head off of another participant, will the healing array stop him or her? Preventing that from happening is the coordinator's job. Although sometimes death is inevitable in competitions like this, we still need to do everything in our power to stop the participants from killing each other. This is a competition, not a gladiator arena. Darius looked at the Morning Star Pavilion and Sunrise Sect Pavilion when he spoke those words. It was obvious he was telling this to Ghost and Selena, who was burning in rage. The commentators gave the crowd a few moments to chit-chat and become silent. After the noises died down, they moved on to the next thing. Our VIPs and judges will determine who fights who. Michael smiled. As a small favor for killing Alex, Michael already told Ashton who he wants to fight. However, unlike his battle with Alex, the upcoming battle wouldn't be very long. Michael was thinking of wiping the floor with his opponent. Through the crowd cheering in front of him, Michael saw Layla standing among the commoners with her cloak covering her face. Since no one could see a person's cultivation level anymore, the people were thinking that Ashton was the only fusion stage cultivator in the arena. We will name the participants who will face each other. Please come to the battle stage after hearing your name, Ishihara said. Everyone who was seated leaned forward in anticipation. All of their eyes were on the commentators to see who they were going to call first. Maurice from Aragoth and Sabrina from Holy Trident Academy. The crowd erupted hearing the names. Both Aragoth and Holy Trident were prominent sects in their continents. Aragoth was on par with either of the three big sects in Elon, while Holy Trident Academy was one of the powerful sects for girls in Azair continent. Michael wasn't even slightly interested in the battle regardless of knowing Sabrina. As Sabrina and Maurice, who was a brown-haired youngster in his late 20s, walking towards the battle stage, the runes captured everyone's expressions and broadcasted them in the giant mirrors. Ghost. 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 Despite the battle being between Sabrina and Maurice, when the mirror broadcasted Michael's face, the crowd let out thunderous cheers. Even Michael was surprised by their cheers. It seems like they are really loving what I'm giving them. The badass points rapidly increased without even him lifting a finger. Man, I love this tournament, he reminded himself. Standing on the opposite side of the arena, Andrews sulked seeing the response Ghost was getting. The battle prowess and brutality he showed during the fight with Alex made Andrews shudder. Yet he knew he couldn't back down. The only thing that kept Andrews calm was the promise Layla Alden made to him. Although Ghost was powerful, Andrews had some things that Ghost lacked: a supportive family behind him and true love. Andrews believed his love would give him the strength to defeat Ghost if he was to meet him on the battle stage. Let the battle begin. When Sabrina and Maurice reached the battle stage, the commentators announced. The cheers died down as the crowd stared at the fight, making less noise. After the response Michael's last fight received, the tournament committee put Ghost's fight at last. This kept the crowd on the edge of their seats. Each fight lasted longer than everyone expected. Hence, by the time for the last fight of the core formation stage, the sun had already fallen into the horizon, letting the darkness paint the sky black. Ghost. 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 The crowd couldn't wait any longer as they started to chant the name Ghost. Except for Morningstar fans, everyone else joined in the chant to produce thunderous cheers for Michael. It was evident that after this tournament, everyone would come to know the name Ghost if they hadn't heard it before. Plus, he would become an exception among the alchemists. Never before in the history of the championship tournaments has an alchemist won the title. After all, alchemists were believed to be weak in combat, just like the other specialists such as rune masters, healers, blacksmiths. On the VIP seatings, Alicia was shaking her legs as she felt extremely nervous despite her efforts to stay calm. Norvin liked to annoy Alicia all the time, but at this moment, even he stayed quiet. Everyone who loved Alicia shared the same nervousness. Finally, after so much wait, James Hall announced the next battle as the crowd erupted and jumped up from their seats in excitement. Peter Stone and Ghost, please come to the battle stage. Even James Hall rushed the name announcing as he never even said the name Sunrise Sect. Alicia's heart shuddered. She looked up to see her brother landing on the battle stage. She searched the sky for Ghost. It took her several seconds to see him slowly descending onto the battle stage. His black long coat fluttered in the wind as he still wasn't in battle armor but wore his usual black clothes. When Michael landed on the battle stage, he ignored all the cheers and focused his gaze on Peter. Although Michael stunned everyone with his power, Peter seemed indifferent. He seemed like he was bored. I always knew Alex was just all bark and no bite. Peter sounded extremely prideful. He never even showed a shred of respect towards Alex. Even Michael respected Alex as a warrior. If these words were spoken by someone else, the crowd would have become crazy and booed Peter. However, they all witnessed Alex's battles. Peter held the highest number of knockouts in the first round and finished the battle in just 1 minute in the second round. He was the dark horse in the competition. Unlike you, Alex was a true warrior. He never ambushed people in the dark and gathered information about strengths and weaknesses. Peter's nonchalant look completely took a 180 turn when he heard Ghost's words. I did my research after your little visit. People call you the young master. The moment Michael said this, Alicia felt a chill running through her spine. As a guardian, she knew about the mysterious young master. There was a file on the young master in the Guardian Guild. Many nobles who got ambushed and defeated by the young master were looking for his real identity. If Peter was the young master, he was in deep trouble. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 355. 21 years ago, the forest was huge, thick and primal. Its canopy was ruled by giant banyan, ash, buxus, giant sequoia, Sitka spruce and various monstrous trees. The forest was ancient as not a shred of sunlight could peek through the canopy. One could not even tell if it's day as the forest looked darker than any moonless night. Coiling branches drooped from the occasional tree, and a variety of illuminating flowers, which was the only light source one could find in the forest, caught attention in the otherwise green scenery. A clamor of beastly noises, predominantly those of varmint, echoed in the air and formed a chaotic orchestra with the sounds of a fight over dominance between larger animals. Arf! Suddenly the scream of a young woman disturbed the ruling silence. Hold on dear, I will get you help. Another woman's voice could be heard after the first scream. In the light of blue fluorescent mushrooms and flowers, a girl lay on the lap of another girl. The girl on the ground seemed young and extremely beautiful, but at the moment, mud and dirt soiled her beauty and the raven black hair. Her stomach had a bump that any woman would treasure with her life, her children. She was pregnant with twins. The girl holding the pregnant girl had tears gushing out of her eyes. She was holding the pregnant girl's hand tightly to help her fight the pain. The pregnant girl was holding the girl's hand in one hand and holding a black sword in the other. The two girls were none other than Diana and Imelda. 21 years old, they were Harrier and Irena. I can't let them think my sons, Diana grunted in pain. The words barely escaped her mouth. Diana felt her twins kicking her belly from within her. This pain should bring her joy, yet at the moment, it was anything but joy. The pain she endured was so excruciating as the veins in her eyes popped. In addition to bloodshot eyes, her nose began to bleed. Imelda shuddered to see Diana bleeding through her nose and eyes. It was not normal during labor. However, the twins within Diana were two gods, God of light and God of darkness. Arg? Diana grunted again as Imelda saw one of Diana's eyes turn completely white while the other turned pitch black. Help us. Imelda's scream echoed through the forest for miles. Yet no one heard her cry for help. There you are, suddenly a calm voice reverberated in the forest. The entire forest surrounding them gradually became brighter and brighter. Slowly, 3 figures shrouded in white light descended through the dark canopy in front of Diana and Imelda. They radiated a holy light that made them look like deities. Soon out of the white radiance, several figures appeared. These figures were humans but wore cobalt blue armor. The armor completely covered them from head to toe. Each armor had glistening runes and engravings. Yet it wasn't the armor that would attract someone's attention, it was the wings sticking out of their back. They looked like angels. Angels, bring her to us, one of the figures who were shrouded in the light ordered the angels. The voice sounded robotic. Hence Imelda couldn't even tell if it was a woman or a man. She had bigger problems than finding out the gender of the figures. The angels rushed at Diana with a flap of their wings. While they were flying towards Diana, golden swords materialized in their hands. And oh, despite the excruciating pain, Diana grunted while picking herself up from the ground. She was kneeling on the ground while supporting herself with the sword in her hand. Whoosh! Among the 12 angels, one angel swung its sword at Diana. Although Diana knew it wasn't their intention to kill her, she would rather die than let them take her sons. When the golden sword was about to cut her in the shoulder, Diana deflected the golden sword before punching the angel in the face. Clang! The clash of their swords created an ear-piercing sound. Despite her weak state, Diana's punch had enough force behind it to send the angel fluttering behind. The angel left a trail of pearl-white feathers along the way. The stumbling angel soon hit another angel and fell down to the ground. The angels witnessed Diana's power before. She was the best of them, yet when they saw her fight in her current status, they were stunned. "Arg, Harry!" Imelda shouted when she saw Diana clench her stomach with one hand. Diana almost fell onto the ground in pain, but she mustered every single bit of strength she could to stand still. "I won't let you." As she was grunting, looking at the three figures enshrouded in the radiant light, another angel rushed at her. The three figures are still hovering in the air above her and looking at a pregnant girl struggle without raising a finger. Whoosh! With a powerful flap, the angel dashed at her. Arg! Just as Diana wanted to evade, the twins inside her kicked her belly. The pain slowed her move down, but her training and skill enabled her to evade the sword just in time before the golden sword pierced her chest. Although she avoided the major wound, the golden sword still cut her in the right shoulder. The other angels also rushed at Diana from every direction. They circled her. Obliterenum. Diana held the black sword in her both hands before stabbing the ground beneath her. The spell created a powerful beam of energy that knocked a few of the angels from the sky immediately. The energy beam produced by her sword glimmered in silver, not the usual silver but the mix of pure white and pure black. 5 of the angels lost almost all the feathers in their wings while the rest fluttered backward due to the force of the blast. Diana felt her sons kick her yet again. This time she fell down to the ground on one knee. "Harry! Run!" Diana grunted the words looking at Imelda. She didn't know how long she could hold off the angels. Right at the moment, she was prepared to sacrifice herself to save her sons. She wanted to hold them off until her mentor arrived. If anyone could save them, it was her mentor. Clenching her pregnant stomach in one hand, Diana picked herself up once again. Her legs were shaking in pain. She could barely hold onto her sword. If she wasn't pregnant and poisoned by her maid, she would have ripped the wings off the angels and sent them to hell. These angels trained with her, but they were not at all powerful as Diana. Although they were all at the core formation stage including Diana, she had the strength to fight a soul-refining stage warrior head-to-head. She was a heaven-defying existence. Normal cultivation standards did not apply to her. That was what brought Skyhall's attention towards her in the first place. According to her mentor, she somehow inherited some of the energy particles of an ancient god, Aurora. Even her mentor had no answer how she ended up with an ancient god's energy particles in her body. The Skyhall was considered to be the most powerful existence, yet even they knew very little about the ancient gods. Twinkle! Diana picked herself up while wiping off the blood leaking out of her nostrils. Twinkle! She stepped forwards towards a fallen angel. Since the angel lost most of its feathers, it struggled to stand up. Diana recited the poem to lessen the pain as well as remind herself that there's always light after darkness. The fallen angel struggled violently to dash away from Diana, but it was too late. Diana stomped the angel in the leg, instantly crushing the bones beneath the armor. The armor crushing the bones let out a crunching noise. Little star. Just as the word star escaped Diana's mouth, she plunged the black sword through the angel's helmet. Finally, the angel's frantic struggle had been stopped by her sword. Diana slowly pulled back her black sword. She swung as the blood of the angel splattered on the ground. The black long coat Diana was wearing fluttered in the wind along with her raven black hair. Coupled with her bleeding eyes and noses formed a terrifying look as it sent a chill running through the angel's spines. The remaining angels finally picked themselves again to strike her down. Smite her! As the angels ascended to the air once again, one of the figures ordered the angels. In a blink of an eye, the golden swords in the angels' hands disappeared. The very next moment, they all conjured a ball of the golden orb that had crackles of golden lightning dancing around. No! Seeing the angels were about to do something horrible to her little sister, Imelda ran towards Diana. The angels or the three figures didn't seem to give a damn about Imelda. The angels raised their hands above their heads. "Aaron, save yourself." Tears gushed out of Diana's eyes. She wanted to hold off the angels until her mentor arrived, except he didn't arrive. Diana wanted to kill herself before they took her alive, but she knew if she killed herself, they would take away her sons. She was in a situation where she had no answer. If she tried to surrender, the Sky Hall would kill one of her sons. If she didn't, they would kill her and her entire family. Despite their threats, Diana was not ready to give up her son. She closed her eyes, praying to the gods to save her sons and her family from the Sky Hall. I strongly recommend my readers listen to Harriet Hunt theme music while reading the chapter. It's in my Discord server. Trust me, it will strike you differently. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 356, Don't. Just as Diana was trying to stand up to save her sons inside her womb, one of the three white figures spoke. We can't risk smiting her. Who knows what the Dark Lord inside her is capable of? What if he drew the angel's energy? The white figure asked the other two as silence enveloped the forest for a few moments. You're right, well, do this the messy way. Diana's heart skipped a beat when she heard the white figure. Angels, stand down. The golden orb in their hands faded away after hearing the order. The angels flapped their wings to back away from Diana. Protum, the word reverberated through the forest as a powerful blast of sonic wave appeared out of the three figures. Harry. Imelda screamed when she saw the sonic waves blast Diana into a tree several meters away from her. Diana hit the tree with such force that her body created a hole in the tree. Arger, Diana coughed up, mouth full of blood, as she started to feel her consciousness drift away. You bastards. Imelda's anger exploded as she rushed at the nearby angel to attack with her hands reaching out. She was prepared to rip off the wings of the angels. In her anger, she forgot about the power gap between her and an angel. Just as anyone would expect, when Imelda got closer to the angel, it just slapped Imelda before wrapping its metal-covered arm around her. She struggled violently to free help, but she was too weak and the angel was too strong. Through her blurry vision, Diana saw the three figures floating towards her. She turned her head sideways to see her sword lying on the ground several meters away from her. She tried to move her body, yet she couldn't even move her finger. You made us look and behave like animals, Harriet. Diana couldn't see which of the three white figures spoke. It took everything in her to stay awake. She knew if she closed her eyes, they would take away her sons. One of the twins is the Dark Lord, Harriet. Why can't you understand the danger the world is in? My son is not evil. Diana coughed up blood while barely uttering the words. Stupid bitch, he's gonna create hell in this world. We have seen the future. One of the three figures seemed to have lost their calmness. The overwhelming anger could be sensed in their voice. As they got to hands reach distance from Diana, a white extended from the white figure floating in the middle. The white figure landed on the ground. As when their feet touched the ground, the white radiant around the figure slightly faded away to reveal a beautiful woman's face. It was just for a split second, but Diana saw a graceful lady through the white light. As Diana tried to struggle, the white radiant around the lady slowly diminished. At the moment, Diana could vaguely see the human features such as hands and legs, but not the entire body. The bright light prevented Diana from seeing the lattice face. The pair of white hands reached out for Diana's pregnant belly. When the hands touched her belly, she felt electricity running through her entire body. She felt numb. The black dress on her belly turned into nothing but ashes and disappeared into the air. Her pregnant belly was exposed. It will only hurt for a moment, Harriet. And oh! Embla screamed as the white figure ran the white light from Diana's belly from one end to another. The light moved slowly and gently as a trail of blood appeared on Diana's belly. The lady was cutting Diana open without a shred of mercy. Ow! Imelda screamed as loud as she could, Trencucto. While the lady was cutting Diana open, another white figure uttered the word as Imelda's scream was cut abruptly. The very next moment, Imelda tried to scream, but her lips refused to move, her entire body refused to move. She saw everything that's happening before her but couldn't move a muscle. Simply, she was paralyzed. Stop. Suddenly another voice echoed through the forest. The lady who was cutting open Diana froze as the figures turned back to see another white figure materialize in the air several meters away from her. The white radiance around the newly appeared figure was several times brighter than the three. When he appeared, one could even hear a low-frequency whittling noise. The trees around them stopped waving to the wind. The time around them looked like it stopped. The newly arrived white figure slowly descended to the ground. When the figure touched the ground, the light covering the figure slowly faded away to reveal a tall, thin, and very old man. Judging by the silver of his hair and beard, which were both long enough to tuck into his belt. He was wearing long robes, a white cloak that swept the ground. His brown eyes were light, bright, and sparkling behind full moon spectacles. There was a 2-inch cut on his forehead as though someone cut his forehead using a sharp burning weapon. "What are you doing here, Wulfric?" the lady who was cutting up Diana asked the old man. "You are cutting open my disciples despite her current condition and still asking me what I am doing here?" "Mentor," Diana's mind finally relaxed a bit seeing her mentor. "You know who is inside her. You saw the chaos and destruction the Dark Lord will bring to this world?" the lady asked. "Yes, I saw. But you seem to forget the other twin, the god of light." Wulfric gracefully walked towards them. The 3 figures made way for him to reach Harriet. He knelt down before Harriet. "What was your plan, child? Kill yourself? You know if you killed yourself they will still take away your sons?" as he questioned Diana. He gently touched her forehead as the wounds started to disappear but not completely. He seemed calm but Wulfric felt a powerful force fighting his energy from within Diana. It was dark energy, nothing like he had ever seen or sensed. He could also sense another energy suppressing the dark energy. If it wasn't for the suppressing energy he doubted Diana could have survived this long. "I won't let them take my sons." Diana could now speak more clearly as Wulfric healed her. "You have a choice to make, child. The Sky Hall will take your son no matter what. They will kill your entire family to do that. Agree to give up your son and I will make them leave you and your family alone." These words were only heard by Diana. He talked to Diana telepathically. "I'd rather kill my sons with my own hands and go to hell before giving up my son. Death is better for my sons than letting these monsters take them." Diana couldn't even imagine what they would do to her sons if she handed them over to the Sky Hall. Even though they were asking for only one of her sons, she was not going to give up on her son. "You're a good mother, child. You still refuse to give up your son even after knowing he would grow up to be the Dark Lord." "My son is not evil and he won't become one. I can still kill myself and my sons with the spell you taught me, mentor." Diana telepathically talked to Wulfric. He let out a gentle smile as though he was expecting Diana to fight till the end for her son. "Would you rather kill you and your sons rather than give up one to save you and your other son?" This time he didn't talk telepathically. Everyone heard his words loud and clear. "Yes. I know what Sky Hall is capable of. If I gave up my son to save another, they would make my son suffer and I can't raise another one knowing I gave up on one to save another. I won't forgive myself. So yes, I would rather kill them both than give up my one son." Tears rolled out of Diana's eyes like a flood. "A mother's love." Wulfric smiled. Diana felt a warm wave surging from her toe to head. The next moment she closed her eyes. She has a strong love for her sons. You can't perform the ritual if she still had a strong bond with the Dark Lord. Wulfric turned to look at the other 3 white figures. "What ritual?" the lady asked. "I'm not talking to you." Wulfric raised his right arm as the silver ring he wore in his middle finger sparkled. Soon an ethereal form of a man in his early 50s appeared in front of them. "I am talking to the Supreme Guardian Andreas." Considering the white radiance enveloping the 3 figures, no one could see the stunned look on their faces when they heard Wulfric. "You need to perform the forbidden spell, Wulfric," Andreas said, ignoring the 3 figures standing near him. Although he seemed to ignore them, he wanted to kill the 3 of them for what they did to Harriet. The ruthlessness and inhumane way of conducting things prevented the Guardians from working with the Sky Hall in the first place. "It seems we have no other choice," Wulfric sighed. "Altering her memories and the mind is the only way to make her give on her son." "Wulfric, you know that a mother's love is not something we can change on a whim. The forbidden spell could only suppress her love for her child for a short amount of time. As time passes, her love would resurface." He stopped for a moment to turn back and look at the unconscious Diana. "Only if she sees her son again. The ritual can send him to a place where he won't return ever." If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 357, What are you waiting for, Wulfric? Cast the spell. Andreas floated in the air before Wulfric. Andreas talked to Wulfric as though there was no one around them. He completely ignored the trio of Sky Hall elders and the angels. "We might just be pushing that child onto the path to become a Dark Lord." Andreas, Wulfric sighed. He looked at the unconscious Diana once again and went on. "Every child is innocent when it's born, Andreas." Although Wulfric saw glimpses of a future where the world is ruled by the Dark Lord and knew he can't change the destiny, he still felt reluctant to change Diana's memories. "Not this child, Wulfric, you know that. This is the only way. 3,000 years ago, the gods wouldn't have created an entire universe with no energy to trap this child if they didn't think this child is evil beyond measures. Just reminiscing the future the gods showed the guardians made Andreas shudder in fear. So it's true? There's a prison for the Dark Lord. Hearing Andreas and Wulfric from the sidelines, the lady in white light asked. It is true, Wulfric sighed. Only the gods themselves can travel into the Black Universe. Prison Earth is not a place we mortals could venture to. The mere name Earth sent a chill running through Wulfric's spine. He was there when the gods created an entire universe with no energy at all. They put the world named Earth in the middle of the universe. It was a prison created to hold the Dark Lord. Even after 3,000 years, Andreas didn't know why the gods could simply kill the Dark Lord. He refused to believe that the Dark Lord is stronger than the gods. As long as she has a bond with the Dark Lord, he can't leave this world. Wulfric. We must sever the bond between the Dark Lord and her. Andreas floated to look Wulfric in the eyes. As I said before, the forbidden spell will only suppress her motherly love for a short amount of time. Andreas. A mother's love is the most powerful spell. It's enough for us to complete the ritual. Wulfric sighed before nodding. Andreas was preparing for this ritual for 3,000 years with the Sky Hall. He sacrificed his body 3,000 years ago to perform the ritual. Wulfric didn't want his sacrifice to be in vain. After Wulfric nodded, Imelda saw Andreas' eyes lock onto her. Bring her to us, we need her to perform the forbidden spell, Andreas said. Irael, wake her up, we have to start casting the spell before the twins are born, Andreas said, looking at the lady in white. He wanted to send the Dark Lord away but wanted to keep Diana and her family safe from the Sky Hall. After all, they were innocent and the other twin might be the only person alive to stop the Dark Lord if the Dark Lord somehow finds his way back to this world. Remember, Andreas, darkness doesn't always mean evil. Just as light doesn't equate to good. Wulfric's words sounded more like a warning to Andreas. If it was up to Wulfric, he would have let the child stay with its family. After all, he believed the family and the child's mother's love would change his destiny. The following 30 days were hell to Imelda. She saw the spell making her sister go crazy. Even after giving birth to the twins, they only let Diana care for Noah. They kept the other one, who Diana named Dean, away from her. The Supreme Guardian and Wulfric spent 30 days casting the spell on Diana. They failed the first 29 days. Diana never let go of Dean. Every single day she fought the angels to reach Dean. Imelda's heart bled every time she tended to her sister's broken bones and life-threatening wounds. Imelda's role in the spell was to help Wulfric alter Diana's memories. Since Diana trusted Imelda with her life, they used Imelda to alter her memories and mess with her mind. No matter how many glimpses of a horrible future lies ahead they showed Diana, she refused to let go of Dean. After the 10th day, Wulfric gave Dean to Diana so she could breastfeed him. The Guardians or the Sky Hall didn't know about that. It was the only time Diana had with Dean. On the 30th day, the spell finally took hold of Diana's mind. They changed her memories and mind as she was the one who chose to leave Dean in the middle of the forest. Regardless of the hellish pain they put her through, Imelda saw her sister smile whenever she held her sons in her arms. Sky Hall wanted to erase their actions in her life, but Wulfric didn't wipe off the memories she had of Sky Hall. He just deleted Andreas, Imelda, and his involvement in her mind-altering forbidden spell. However, what Wulfric didn't expect was how strong Diana's love towards Dean was. Her love broke the ritual that was supposed to send the Dark Lord completely to his prison, Earth. But Wulfric hid the truth that the ritual failed due to Diana's motherly love from everyone. The Sky Hall had no idea that the child's soul split into two. One soul piece was sent to Earth as they planned, but the other piece remained in the child's body, and Wulfric teleported the child near the cosmic river. The soul piece that went to Earth was Michael and the other was Aubr's, but both of them were the same person. Unlike Michael was thinking, Aubr's never died and gave his body to Michael. Aubr's and Michael joined together, becoming whole once again. Regardless of everyone's efforts, the Dark Lord came back to the universe he belongs from his prison, and it was his mother's true love that saved him. If it wasn't for Harriet's love, the Dark Lord would have lived, died, and reincarnated for eternity without any powers. The present day, Gaia was sitting on the floor of an empty room in Hell City. Except for the 4 wooden walls, round table, and 2 chairs, there was not a thing in the room. There was not even a window. The room had few holes to let the air flow in and out of the room. Iag waited so long to speak these words. Since Noah was with them, she couldn't yell at Gaia, but now Noah went outside to bring them something to eat and Gaia was alone with them. You bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? Vidora stood on Gaia's lap. Iag bit Gaia's legs as strong as she could. Ouch, Gaia flicked Iag on the head. What did I do now? Gaia asked, rubbing the skin above her knee. What did you do? You just fucking agreed to give what you need from the five-headed serpent to Noah. And he's gonna use that to save your lowlife father who crippled you, threw you in jail, and gave your throne to another bitch. Gaia's veins on her forehead bulged out as she slammed the wooden floor beneath her. A fist-shaped bump immediately appeared after she slapped the wooden floor. You really think I forgot about everything and turned into a filial daughter all of a sudden? Iag frowned as Sarba looked at Gaia with a surprised face. I don't want someone else to kill that bastard before me. I want to drag his ass off the throne, cripple him with my own hands, throw him in the same fucking jail cell he put me in. Vidora could clearly see the cold killing intent in her eyes. She was not kidding around. How could I let that old fucker die without making him pay for what he did time? There is not even a shred of compassion for him in me. Gaia clenched her fist thinking about her father. Every fucking day I dream about making him pay. I'm not gonna let him die before he pays his fucking debt. Hearing Gaia's words somewhat calmed down Iag. Her sudden 180 turn in her personality pissed off Iag, except now she realized that Gaia wasn't being a filial daughter all of a sudden but planning to make her father suffer more. Her cold words were calmed down Iag. They even brought a small smile on Iag's face. What about this Noah asshole? Why are we working with him? I feel like he's using us, Iag said to Gaia. After listening to Iag's complaint, Gaia snickered. Humph, this Noah fucker rubs me in the wrong way. I can tell that even if I don't work together with him, he has a plan to defeat the five-headed serpent without my help. If he managed to defeat that thing first without our help, we'll lose everything. This way he'll get most of what I want, since he's a righteous asshole who's addicted to saving damsels in distress. Hell be our protective shield. Two birds, one stone. But Iag wanted to say something, but Cain knocked her on the head with his head. We have to work with him. He knows about us and her real identity. If he wants, he could make our lives a whole lot worse. Ghost is not here to protect us, and I don't think even he could protect us if Noah opened his mouth to the Guardians, Cain explained calmly without showing a shred of panic in his voice or face. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, Gaia said looking at Iag. Dang, you talk more and more like Ghost. Iag rolled her eyes. Hearing Ghost's name, Gaia started to think about him. She wanted to see him, hug him and kiss him so badly. The distance between them surprisingly brought them together closer. Where are you and what are you doing, human? Gaia closed her eyes, recalling his smiling face in her mind. Michael chapter next. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 358. Peter was flabbergasted to see Ghost revealing his identity to the entire world. He made sure no one knows about his identity, yet somehow Ghost knows about him. He couldn't help wondering how he knew about his identity. What are you blabbering on? Peter asked Ghosty with a stoic face. He couldn't just accept he's the young master. What if Ghost was really bluffing and he had no evidence, Peter thought. This has taken a dark turn, guys, Ishihara commented after hearing Michael talk. Accusing Peter of being a vigilante is a serious accusation, James Hall said. After the appearance of Lucifer, the Guardians or the Church isn't in the mood for tolerating masked criminals who terrorize the people. The moment Darius uttered the name Lucifer, the entire arena went deadly silent. Many commoners shivered in fear while many felt a mix of fear and worship in their hearts. Conserving Lucifer's victims were ruthless criminals who needed to be rooted out. Those who suffered in the hands of those criminals worshipped Lucifer for giving them some kind of justice, the authority like the Guardians didn't. You know, accusing me of this is a serious crime, Ghost. You really want to go down this path? I understand if you are afraid of losing, but this is a new kind of low, Peter coldly said without showing any emotion on his face. Afraid of you, ha. You're joking, right? Let the battle begin. The voice of the coordinators hovering above the battle stage reverberated through the arena. Still, after hearing the words, both Peter and Michael didn't take battle stances. Michael even turned his back on Peter and started to talk, looking at the crowd. I am gonna make you pay for turning your back on me. Peter gritted his teeth, mumbling under his breath. He immediately drew symbols in the air as various runes and patterns began to appear in the air. They all glowed in sparkling cobalt blue color. At least 50 tiny runes could be seen floating around in the air above the battle stage at the moment. A bunch of them continued to float in the air before disappearing into the battle stage, while some faded away into the thin air. Although I like to make new friends and don't like to alienate people, I'm a very private person who loves privacy. When people spy on me, I get pretty pissed, Michael talked without turning back to look at Peter. People who piss me off don't get a happy ending, Peter. Alicia saw the smile on Ghost's face disappear in the mirror. A sudden dread hit her to the core. She loved her big brother and didn't want anything to happen to him. Just by accusing Peter of being the young master, Ghost put her brother in the crosshairs of the Guardians. Nonetheless, Guardians weren't the ones she should worry about at the moment. She witnessed how easily Ghost killed Alex, who fought with her brother to a stalemate. Regardless of Peter's talent in runes, she still feared for her brother's life because Ghost was not someone who could be defeated so easily. You know, when you came to fight me that night, I could have easily flayed you alive and fed it to my dragon. Michael winked at Nightmare, who waved at Michael standing on Claire's lap. But where is the fun in that? The more he spoke, the violent the spear trembled in Peter's hands. Now I get to destroy your arrogant ass in front of thousands of people. That is fun. Many raised their brows seeing the carelessness of Ghost. This was not a round where the participants were restricted to use the arch energy. On the contrary, they could use anything. Hence, no participant had ever turned their back on their opponent because a second of carelessness would be the reason for a major loss. That's my dialogue, Peter snickered as he raised his spear at Michael. Ray of spear. The golden spear trembled violently before soaring through the air, aiming for Michael's head. Many people couldn't stay seated as they stood up in bewilderment. Just when the spear was about to pierce the back of his neck, Ghost turned his head as the spear suddenly halted in the air, as though the spear put a break in the middle air. The people were stunned. It took them a few seconds to see Ghost was holding the spear by its handle. The spear violently trembled, yet it couldn't escape his grip. Hello, Peter, Michael winked at Peter. This is not going to be a long, interesting battle. Michael felt the spear fighting his grip to go back to Peter. Nonetheless, he was too strong for the spear to escape. Besides, the spear lost all of its momentum when the invisible responsive shield absorbed its power. After upgrading the responsive shield a couple of levels, Michael could now decide whether he wants others to see the shield coming up or not. Because Peter was trying his hardest to summon back the spear from Ghost's hand, the veins in his eyes popped open, making his eyes red. Peter hid his difficulty of summoning the spear from showing up on his face. Still, when Michael saw Peter struggling, he tilted his head. Oh, you need this, here you go. Michael tossed the spear back to Peter. Wind steps. Peter cast another spell as he suddenly disappeared from the battle stage. Where did he go? Ishihara asked. Many had the same question in their heads too. Suddenly Peter appeared out of thin air behind Michael. Without wasting a second, Peter plunged the spear towards Michael's back. Nevertheless, when the tip of the spear was just a few inches away from Ghost, Peter felt an invisible force stopping him. He wasn't surprised, as he knew about Ghost's responsive shield. He felt the force when he fought Ghost in the forest of the Sunrise Sect. However, the force he felt at the moment was far greater than the force he felt when he first fought Ghost. The next moment, Ghost yet again turned back and grabbed the spear by its handle. For others, it seemed like Michael stopped the spear from stabbing him by grabbing the spear, but only Peter knew that it was the spell that stopped him. The runes he placed on the battle stage were supposed to prevent Ghost from casting any spells. Peter couldn't understand how he cast the shield spell ignoring the runes. The runes you placed, it will only stop me if I used any spells. And Peter, he grinned looking at Peter. I never said I can't beat your silly little runes. Michael pulled the spear towards him along with Peter. Ring of fire. The moment Ghost cast the spell, a blazing crimson-red fire appeared around the two of them. It burned so hotly as everything above the fire looked blurry. The people had to look at the mirror to get a clear picture of what's happening inside the fire circle. Peter was stunned. He never expected Ghost to pinpoint the rune he placed to prevent him from casting Ring of Fire. Peter didn't know the power of Michael's X-ray vision, which helped him pinpoint the runes. With the help of X-ray vision, Michael stepped on the invisible rune, breaking it. Since Michael upgraded every one of his spells to the max level he could, the Ring of Fire became more powerful. He could control the fire as easily as breathing inside the fire ring. A blaze of fire trailed from the fire ring and danced around Michael's hands. Boom. Peter's concentration broke for a second in shock. Michael used this opportunity as he punched Peter in the chest with his flaming hand. The fist connected with Peter's metal armor, producing a loud booming sound. Alicia saw her brother flying backward like a kite without an anchor in the storm. A dent was formed in Peter's armor by Michael's fist. Peter felt his ribs cracking inside his chest. He coughed up a mouthful of blood but soon picked himself up. Suddenly he saw Ghost stop walking towards him. This is where you put the rune to prevent me from using my speed spell. Am I right? Peter saw Ghost stomp the ground. He felt the connection with the rune severed after his stomp. He knew Ghost just destroyed another rune. He's pinpointing the runes and destroying them. A feat many talented cultivators struggle to grasp. James Hall seemed more and more surprised by Ghost. Darius on the other hand was silent despite his job of being a commentator. He was completely focused on Ghost's moves. "Your brother is in trouble, Alicia," Norvin said as though Alicia was not worried enough. Lightning Dash. After destroying the rune, there was nothing to stop him from using Lightning Dash. His extreme speed left an afterimage. As Peter stared at the afterimage, Ghost actually arrived in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. Peter was too slow to defend himself. Michael rapidly punched him, pushing Peter backward. Every single punch targeted the weak points of the armor like the joints. Hence, the armor began to form cracks and dents. Alicia's blood boiled seeing her brother getting beaten by Ghost. The crowd saw Peter trying to evade the punches, yet he failed to avoid even a single punch. In a few blinks of an eye, Peter's armor was crushed beyond recognition. When everyone thought Ghost might give Peter a break, he lifted Peter by his neck. After receiving so many punches, Peter was not at his peak self. But Michael was not done with him yet. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 359. In the giant mirrors above the arena, everyone was seeing Ghost lifting Peter by his neck. Peter mustered the little bit of strength he had in his body to punch Ghost. Pathetic, Ghost snickered after getting a punch from Peter. Peter was completely stunned by Ghost. When he first fought Ghost, his movements were slow despite the runes, his fighting technique was sloppy. Plus, his reaction time was way slower. This time, however, Ghost fought like a new person. Peter couldn't even evade his attacks as he was too fast. Moreover, Ghost was able to destroy the runes he placed on the battle stage without sweating a break. It shouldn't be possible, yet somewhere Ghost destroyed them. Without the runes to restrict Ghost's spells and skills, Peter's plan of defeating him took a nosedive. Boom. Suddenly Michael slammed Peter on the floor, almost forming a crater in the battle stage. The force of the slam sent the spear in Peter's hands flying away. The light in Peter's eyes started to dim down due to the broken bones inside him. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Michael flicked his hand as a healing potion appeared in his hand. "The fun is just getting started, Peter." He forced the healing potion down Peter's mouth as the internal wounds Peter suffered gradually healed. His pale face became rosy again. Ghost's hand was still around Peter's neck. Before Peter could stand up, he was thrown into the air by Ghost. Because Peter healed up, he was able to balance himself in the middle and landed comfortably on the battle stage. He raised his hand as the spear came flying into his hand. "You said something about my sword skills?" With an arrogant smile, Peter saw Ghost unsheath the two swords on his back. The hate Peter had towards Ghost at this point was immeasurable. He had never felt so humiliated in his life. Thousands of people witnessed Ghost beating him mercilessly like he was a weak animal. Michael could have easily broken Peter's limbs and ended the fight in a couple of minutes. Yet he chose to drag out the fight, which was not his style. He always preferred to end the battle as soon as possible without giving his opponent the time to get lucky. This time he made an exception to the rule because he wanted to show the entire continent what would happen if someone messed with him. Also, beating the crap out of Peter was his way of venting the anger boiling inside him. Every time he saw the blue-haired guy sitting next to the princess, the flashes of Abra's last moments flashed across his eyes. He never felt such anger like this for a long time. It took everything in him to keep his cool. The last time he lost his cool, he went on a killing rampage, ending all the fellow assassins he trained with under Spectre and even killing the girl he loved. Lightning Dash, Wind Steps, both of them cast the spells at the same time with their weapons in their hands. The nobles once again leaned forward while the commoners couldn't stay seated. The Wind Steps was an epic class spell that let the caster step into the gaps between realms to teleport. It was similar to a short-distance teleportation spell with quick casting time. The spell was extremely hard to master, and any mishap during the spell would end the caster's life. Those like Darius knew about the spell. They commended Peter for mastering the spell. In a blink of an eye, Peter appeared behind Michael. Clang. Without even turning back, Michael blacked the spear with his sword. The clash of metals produced an ear-piercing sound. The next moment, Michael turned around swinging his sword. Peter managed to block the sword as he expected. Considering spears were not very effective in too short of a distance, Peter jumped back to get some distance between him and Ghost. "Let me show you what a real swordsman can do in a fight against a spearman," as he said. He brushed the swords together. Each time he brushed the swords on each other, it produced sparks of fire. Wrath of Ymir. Peter slammed the spear onto the ground. Michael halted his steps looking at the golden spear trembling violently. Soon, he saw a glistening purple tornado appear out of the spear's tip. The tornado grew bigger and meaner with each passing second. The tornado gradually moved towards Michael. When the people looked at the tornado closer, they could see vague images of spears in the tornado. Why isn't he moving? Ethan worried about his son. Ethan was one of the people who knew which class the spell belonged to, the epic class. Normally these spells would take a long time to cast, yet Peter cast the spell in a few seconds. This was proof of Peter's mastery over spells and runes. Unlike Ethan, Michael didn't worry about the tornado moving towards him. In fact, he was overjoyed. The more powerful spell Peter cast, the more badass points he would receive when walking out of the spells unscathed. What is he doing? Imelda asked with wide eyes, seeing Ghost walking towards the tornado instead of scurrying away from the tornado's path. The black long coat fluttered violently in the air while he was slowly and calmly walking towards the tornado. All the crowd, including the commentators, were speechless. It was too exciting. Under the people's shocked gazes, the tornado finally enveloped Ghost. No one could see his figure inside the tornado. For a few moments, only the howling noise of the tornado could be heard. Maintaining the tornado used Peter's arch energy and strength in his body. After keeping the tornado from fading away for a few minutes, his legs grew weaker by the moment. Still, he maintained the tornado because he wasn't planning to underestimate Ghost again. It was evident that Ghost intentionally hid his true power when they first fought. Peter blamed himself for stupidly falling for his plan. After their initial fight, Peter didn't even take Ghost seriously. Therefore, he didn't form another strategy but came to fight with the same plan he used in their first fight. If he hadn't underestimated Ghost, he would have created new runes to defeat Ghost and wouldn't have gotten his ass kicked. "Hello, Peter." Suddenly, Peter felt a chill running through his spine when he heard a calm voice coming from the tornado. Many people gasped in shock when they saw Ghost stepping out of the tornado, not even a cut on his face. "No, impossible," Peter mumbled as his mind went blank. Granted, Ghost had more cultivation power than him, still it wasn't possible even for a level 10 core formation stage warrior to face the tornado and come out unscathed. Lightning dash, the smile on Michael's face disappeared as he cast the spell. In a blink of an eye, he appeared before Peter as Peter raised his spear to defend himself. It was too late as Ghost swung his sword, inflicting a deep cut on his shoulder. Gritting his teeth to fight the pain, Peter swung his spear, but he once again felt pain in his other shoulder. Then, on his gut, leg, face, chest, and every place in his body. He couldn't even see Ghost anymore. All he had seen were after images of Ghost swinging his sword. Darius was speechless. Every one of his sword swings was precise, deadly, and elegant beyond words. Regardless of Peter's suffering, Darius didn't want Ghost to stop. On the other hand, Alicia's heart bled seeing her brother getting flayed alive. It was true that the healing array kept Peter alive, but it didn't stop Ghost from inflicting almost 100 cuts. Peter's armor had already fallen off as Ghost painted Peter red in blood. "Bastard." Alicia couldn't hold back her anger anymore as she banged the seat's arm. Peter fell to the ground, losing all his strength due to the blood loss. Ghost was merciless. He never gave Peter the chance to utter the words "I surrender." Not that Peter would surrender, many expected Ghost to give him a chance. Even Claire frowned seeing Ghost kicking Peter in the gut while cutting him mercilessly. Sometimes Ghost freaked her out with his ruthlessness. "Stop." Finally, Alicia's anger exploded. Her thunderous voice closed all the mutterings and drew the attention of the crowd, including the commentators, the VIP guests, and Ghost himself. Michael put one foot on Peter's blood-soaked face. Seeing Alicia interrupting the battle, the tournament committee guards rushed to her before she could further do something stupid. "Look, your sister is screaming up there?" Michael giggled before stomping Peter's face yet again. "I will kill you," Alicia screamed. Norvin was stunned to see her lose her patience like this. She had never been good at showing her emotions, but now after seeing her brother getting beaten like this, she seemed to have lost her mind. "You should stop her from doing something stupid." Michael looked at the coordinators floating above him and said, "Oh, too much blood." While some of the coordinators were flying in the direction of Alicia, Michael turned his focus back to Peter. He smiled at the pool of blood under Peter. "Let's mop the blood, shall we?" Everyone felt a chill as they heard Michael. Soon many people's eyes went wide. He grabbed Peter's right leg and lifted him up in the air before wiping the blood using Peter's body like a mop. "Bastard." Alicia's scream reverberated the arena. However, before she could jump down from the pavilion to the battle stage, the coordinators sent an invisible force field to prevent her from doing so. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, Consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 360. The coordinators were ready to come down to the battle stage to end the battle. It was obvious at this point that there is no way Peter could defeat him. The healing array was the only thing that kept him alive. Alicia was banging the invisible force field erupted in front of her. She saw Ghost squatting down in front of her almost dead brother. Peter couldn't clearly see Ghost's face with his blurry vision, but he could somewhat hear his words. "The next time you think about fighting me, don't." Michael ran his fingers across Peter's bloody face with a devilish grin. "Besides, you're gonna be pretty busy with the Guardians." After patting Peter's bloody face, he stood up. The coordinators rushed to the battle stage. One of the coordinators lifted Peter's hand and let go. Peter did not show any resistance as the hand dropped to the ground 3 times. Knockout, Ghost wins. The Sunrise Sect Pavilion erupted in cheers after hearing the coordinators. However, compared to before, the cheers were less thunderous. Many were in shock seeing the ruthlessness of Ghost. None of the participants were as brutal and merciless as Ghost. Many participants shuddered to even get on the battle stage with him. Even the disciples of the Sunrise Sect shivered. Their respect and worship towards Ghost were slowly turning into fear. On his way towards the battle stage's center, he swung the 2 swords as the blood of Peter splattered on the ground. After unsheathing his swords, he flicked his wrist as a blue crystal appeared in his hand. Standing on another VIP pavilion, Peyton and Zanali saw Ghost's eyes land on them. "Is he looking at us?" Zanali asked Peyton. Soon his gaze turned to Darius. "Put this on the screen, the people and the Guardians should see this." Michael sent the crystal floating towards Darius. Everyone had a look of wonder on their faces. They were curious to see what was in the crystal. Since Ghost accused Peter of being the young master, few expected some kind of evidence in the crystal to prove Ghost's claim. Alicia's heart was beating faster and faster. She stopped banging the force field and stared at the crystal floating towards Darius. "I am still in shock, but it seems like I have to prepare for another," Ishihara commented. "This has gone from competition to a frickin' bloodbath." His ruthlessness is hard to take in. James Hall furrowed his brow. He had been a commentator for many years yet never saw such a bloodthirsty individual as Ghost. It felt like Ghost actually enjoyed hurting others and bathing in blood. In simple words, James thought of him as a devil in a human form. Granted, there were many rogue cultivators who did more cruel things than Ghost, but it was something different in Ghost. James Hall deemed Ghost as a person who is capable of doing anything to his foes. While the crystal was floating towards Darius, Peyton and Zanali stared at coordinators dragging Peter from the battle stage to the infirmary. When Ghost first rejected their offer to join the Guardians, Peyton was shocked and felt mad at him. However, after seeing his actions in the tournament, she was glad he rejected their offer because it was evident he was not Guardian material. He even seemed like a borderline psychopath who has a thirst for blood and violence. Unlike many Guardians, including the Alpha Guardian, hadn't deemed Ghost as a threat to them. Peyton disagreed with them. The Guardians were too mingled in politics as they strayed away from their true goals, catching criminals and bringing order to the world. As far as Peyton was concerned, Ghost was just as dangerous as Lucifer or even more. He was forging alliances with powerful families, making friends and building his empire. At this moment of time, he didn't seem like a threat to the Guardians, except at this speed, he would become a threat in a couple of decades. If Noah said he's a threat, they might have listened, Peyton told herself. "He reminds me of my sister," Zanali said. Peyton sensed a hint of sadness in her voice. It was not only because her sister went missing a year ago, it was also because someone in Nagaland poisoned her father. If it wasn't for Noah, he would have already died. To dispel the poison in her father's body, Noah went to one of the dangerous places in the world, the Fire Realm. Zanali's mother ordered Zanali not to go to the Fire Realm with Noah. Some part of Peyton wanted Noah to die in the Fire Realm. She wanted everything to go back to how it was before Noah joined the Guardians. Peyton's train of thought was interrupted by Zanali's words. "How so?" Peyton asked. She too enjoyed such needless bloodshed. She actually enjoyed making others suffer, including her own family. Zanali's eyes watered, thinking about her father on the verge of death in Gaia. "It's not like you and your family is completely blameless in Gaia's matter, Zanali." For a moment Zanali couldn't believe what she just heard from Peyton. She had never talked to her like this before. Peyton's subconscious anger towards Noah got redirected towards Zanali. "Peyton, what did you mean by that?" "Nothing." Peyton waved her hand, but Zanali didn't let go. "You obviously have something to tell me, so tell me, Peyton." "You think we were to blame for what my sister did?" Zanali's voice didn't sound like she was angry but glum and concerned. Peyton sighed, realizing her impulse got the better of her. Your father took the throne which was rightfully hers and decided to give it to you instead, Zanali. So anyone in your sister's place would feel betrayed. Her words yet again shocked Zanali. She thought Peyton understood her, but Zanali realized she thought wrong. I never wanted that throne, Peyton. She pushed me to take the throne. You know why? If she was on the throne, there would be no need for prisons. She would play the judge, jury, and executioner just like her mother. My sister always blamed me and my mother for the rising crime rate in Nagaland and said if she or her mother was on the throne, it wouldn't be the case. Zanali paused for a second, seeing Ghost leave the battle stage. Darius and some others were meddling with the crystal. Because she or her mother would have killed the accused without a fair trial. You don't know how many people were sentenced to death by her mother without any evidence to prove them absolutely guilty. She would go with her gut feeling. Of course, no criminals, no prisons, no high crime rate. There might have been hundreds of innocents who were said guilty by her mother. Under her rule, my people lived in fear. Just like her mother, Gaia would have been a dictator. I took the throne because I didn't want my people to live in fear. Peyton knew Zanali was right, but only partially right. Gaia's mother was indeed a dictator, but under her rule, Nagaland thrived. It was one of the most powerful kingdoms. Under Gaia's father and Zanali's mother's rule, the kingdom had grown weak. But everyone was getting a fair trial under the new rulers. Of course, each case would drag and waste resources. Still, Zanali and her mother advocated a fair trial for everyone without any compromises. This was one of the reasons the kingdom had grown weak. Under Gaia's mother's rule, resources were spent to develop military power. Under Zanali's mother's rule, resources were spent helping war-torn countries, trials, offering refuge to refugees, and paying off debts they got to help other kingdoms. Both queens had done good and bad. Some favored Gaia's mother while some favored Zanali's mother. Peyton didn't talk about who's right and who's wrong. In fact, she had never judged Zanali's actions until now. I will do what's best for my people. And Gaia was the opposite of best. If she hates me for caring about my people, so be it. Nagaland would never be war-hungry as it once was. Peyton could see the resolve in Zanali's eyes. Peyton was glad that her sister was not what she used to be anymore. Only a few individuals could be compared with Gaia in terms of monstrous cultivation talent. Gaia was on the surveillance list of guardians for a reason. Look, suddenly people in the same pavilion as Peyton and Zanali shouted, looking at the giant mirrors. They both looked at the mirror to see a dark room lit with nothing but a few lanterns appeared in the mirror. The arena became silent, everyone's gaze was on the mirror. After a few moments, they saw a figure dressed in black walking into the darkroom. The bright orange light coming from the lanterns illuminated the book racks, the round table in the room's center, as well as the line of armor stands. The people were staring at the figure's back before the figure slowly turned back. Looking at the figure's armor, Peyton was positive that this was the same figure that many noble youngsters saw when the young master ambushed them. It can't be him, right? Imelda asked Norvin, who was sitting on her shoulder. The golden Babaru looked worried. He desperately needed Noah here to somehow find a way to fix the mess if the young master turned out to be Alicia's brother. I hope not, Norvin said. Soon after the words left his mouth, he saw the black figure in the mirror take off the hood covering his face. No, Alicia's legs turned to jelly when she saw the figure's face. It was her brother, Peter Stone. Norvin saw Peyton and Zanali leaving their seats. He could guess they were going to make sure Peter stays in their sight until he gets healed enough to visit the guild. Bastard, Norvin cursed Ghost. From this moment onwards, Peter's life would not be what it used to be. The Guardians and the Church would make his life a living hell by investigations and trials. If Peter was proven guilty, that would be the end of his freedom, or worse, he would be exiled to the southern continent. Ghost just utterly destroyed Peter's life. For a private and prideful person such as Peter, what he did was worse than killing. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 361. Having turned Peter's life upside down for attacking him, Ghost was honing his fighting skills back in his room. After Layla's visit, the mirror in his room was gone. He didn't buy a new mirror but bought a few punching bags and freakishly sturdy Wing Chun. The punching bags were laying on the ground, broken and scattered. The punching bags contained pieces of stones that were similar to granite on Earth. Still, they were no match for Michael's anger. The anger wasn't toward Peter but Thusia. Ever since he saw Calvin Howard, the representative of Thusia, he was burning with fury. His punches to the Wing Chun became more and more violent as the wooden dummy began to vibrate violently despite its sturdiness. He never even used any arch energy to power his punches, he just used raw strength. Thusians. Victoria Barnes. Check, 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 check. He violently punched the Wing Chun as the wooden dummy began to form cracks. Soon pieces of wood crumbled down. After the Wing Chun lost its shape, his punches became more frantic. They contained no techniques or finance, just random frantic punches. Arg. Boom. Finally, Michael roundhouse kicked the wooden dummy as it exploded into nothing but splinters. There are many ways to destroy an enemy. The first, forgiveness, Elder Wright's words sounded in his mind. They don't deserve it. When I'm done with Wuxia, there won't be any signs that there was a kingdom called Wuxia. I'm gonna massacre them. Michael breathed heavily. He sweated as he was inside an oven in anger. Knock, knock. Master Ghost, Michael heard Ricky's voice coming from the other side of the door. What is it? Michael tried to sound calm, yet it was possible Ricky might have sensed the anger in his voice. There is someone who wants to meet you. That someone have a name? Michael wiped off the sweat before using arch energy to clean himself. Lord Calvin Howard, Master Ghost. The moment Michael heard the name, his calmed anger exploded in his heat yet again. He clenched his fist as he began to shiver. Send him in. His brain overpowered the anger in his heart. Yes, Master Ghost. Ricky left the area to bring Calvin to the room while Michael entered the system's interface to buy a couple of sofas. He knew this was not the time to be impulsive and make an enemy out of Calvin. Hence he bought furniture for Calvin to sit on instead of beating the crap out of him. Michael then put on V-neck black long sleeves and rolled up the sleeves to his elbows. He plunged into the sofa, giving some rest to his body. After waiting for 5 minutes, Michael heard loud footsteps and metal clanking sounds. Soon, the door opened to reveal Ricky and a blue-haired youngster who had a feminine feel to him. He walked towards Michael with a wide grin. He even walked like a female while fanning his face. Ghost, it's a pleasure to meet you up close. Michael stood up and shook Calvin's hands. It felt like he was shaking a girl's hand, it was so soft. Pleasure is all mine, Lord Calvin. Michael gestured at Calvin to take a seat in front of him. It took an immense amount of effort to keep his anger contained. Call me Calvin, Lord title makes me feel old, Calvin pouted. Michael couldn't help imagining dashed at him, ripping off his throat with his bare hands and showing it back into his mouth. He was starting to get really creative. Calvin it is. Michael let out a friendly smile despite the burning rage in his heart. I liked what you've been doing in the competition so far. Letting everyone know you're not to be messed with. That's how the enemy should be dealt with. Despite the feminine look, gentle voice and ladylike softness, Michael could see the cold murdered hiding within Calvin. Kill one enemy, I have rooted out one enemy. Torture and destroy one in front of the world, I have rooted out many, Michael said. You can leave the room now, Ricky. Michael sent Ricky outside with a wave. Calvin's armored escort remained outside without getting inside the room. It was obvious Calvin had no idea who Michael really is. If he had seen Abras before, Calvin would have recognized him by now. Still, this meeting reminded Michael to change his appearance. Although Michael looked way different than he did when he first got Abras' body, he decided to buy something from the system that would quickly change his face when needed. I heard you travel a lot and love making new friends. Have you ever visited Wuxia? Calvin asked. I haven't got the pleasure yet. But I heard it's a beautiful kingdom, and powerful. Calvin smiled, but the pride and arrogance were pretty visible in his eyes. Michael sneered inside. They weren't powerful before the king pimped his daughter to Abras, betrayed him, and acquired the cosmic stream. For others, Wuxia was waging war on nearby kingdoms and forging alliances with powerful organizations to defend themselves from invasion. That was the story Maxim Barnes, the king of Wuxia, spinning. However, Michael knew the truth. They were waging war to make sure none could take the cosmic stream from them or know the existence of the cosmic stream. People like Lord Information would eventually sniff out the existence of the cosmic stream if Wuxia remained doing nothing. The Wuxian king was gambling with the cosmic stream to ensure the future of Wuxia. Many would become suspicious if Wuxia grew powerful in a short amount of time, but if they waged war and swallowed nearby kingdoms, people would think winning wars was the reason for the rise to power. If Michael's guess was right, only a small group of people in Wuxia would know about the cosmic stream's existence, and those few would be insanely powerful. The void event that took away people's ability to see someone's cultivation level added extra protection to them. They didn't need to worry about powers like the Guardian Guild questioning how they suddenly became so powerful. I'm really surprised to see a representative of Wuxia here, Calvin. I mean, the ongoing wars might keep your schedule filled, right? Michael asked without showing a shred of his true emotions on his face. He sounded like he's really surprised to see Calvin here. It's a messy business, but Thusia won't back down to war-hungry kingdoms. In fact, we are winning the wars in all directions. Is that so? Michael nodded, pretending he doesn't know this. The book he bought from Lord Information might not contain information about Cosmic Stream, but it contained everything that's happening in the world right now and the rumors surrounding each kingdom. Unlike Calvin said, Thusia wasn't just winning, they were destroying kingdoms. According to the rumors, Thusia was looking to shift its capital to the Azer continent and announce itself as an empire soon. Despite our victory in the wars, His Majesty Maxim Barnes has ordered his subordinates to strengthen the kingdom further so we won't be vulnerable to wars in the future. Calvin paused for a moment to see the reaction on Ghost's face. After seeing Ghost still listening to him with curiosity, Calvin continued, "Part of our strategy was getting new talents and self-sustaining our kingdom. By self-sustaining, do you mean starting your own guilds?" Michael read something about Thusia starting their own merchant guild from Olivia's father. Connecting that with Calvin's words, he could guess where is this going. Exactly, and that's why I am here. We want you to offer the guild leader position of Tag Thusian Alchemist's Guild. This time, Michael's brows raised up in genuine surprise. He expected Calvin to offer some shitty position but never expected him to offer the position of guild leader. Like a spider web, new plans to get revenge formed in Michael's mind. Man of your caliber should be leading a guild, not competing in silly competitions to prove your worth. Calvin rolled his eyes. It was evident he was talking about the Alchemist's Guild and the upcoming alchemist competition organized by them. Michael didn't need Calvin to tell him what those old alchemists did was rude and insolent. They should have invited him to be the judge of the competition, except they invited him to compete in the competition. Since Michael was hiding the fact that he's the #1 alchemist in Elon, Gabriel could think of judging him. But what about the rest of the guild? There wasn't a single person in that alchemy guild to judge him. I can't say I'm not tempted, but I need to know more about this before making my decision. Michael already decided to take on the position, yet still didn't want to seem like he's too quick to take the job. I did my research, Ghost. You value your freedom and hate being tied to a place. That was why you rejected the Guardians, right? Michael nodded as Calvin continued, "We are still in the first phase of building the guild. Wherever we build the guild, you don't have to stay there 24/7. You will be the guild's leader, appearing only to make important decisions. Day-to-day activities and small matters will be taken care of by the elders and your assistants if you choose to have." Seeing the interested look on Ghost's face, Calvin let out a grin, showing his pure white sparkling teeth. "If you choose to take the position, you will be granted access to the herbal garden we are planning to build, 20 million gold coins a month, and the banner of Kingdom Thusia as a sign of friendship and protection, and many other benefits." Calvin could see the temptation in Ghost's eyes. Hook, line, sink. Too easy, Calvin thought to himself. Anyone with half a brain could see Ghost would take this offer by seeing the look on his face. Calvin was an expert in acquiring talents for Thusia. Therefore he could tell when someone is thinking about taking the offer. However, he had no idea that it was not a fish that bit his hook but a bloodthirsty shark. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 362. After leaving the safe house, Gaia and Noah were following a youngster named Eric, a fellow guardian friend of Noah. Gaia was silently following the two of them, as Eric seemed to know more about the places and routes in Fire Realm than Noah and Gaia combined. "Guardian Eric, where are Oscar and the other men?" "It's very easy to find them in the outer perimeter. Murdoch has occupied our previous stronghold, and I'm guessing he's keeping Oscar and men there. Let me lead you there quietly," Eric said. "Why are we wasting our time looking for this Oscar person?" Gaia asked after they entered a dark alley. "I don't leave friends behind," Noah said. Speaking of friends, Noah couldn't help thinking of Abel. It had been almost a year since Abel went missing inside the Nether Realm. Noah had a feeling that Abel is not alive. Still, Noah never gave up the search. He was still researching about opening a mini portal to the Nether Realm and going searching for Abel. If Abel was alive, Noah wanted to rescue him. If not, he wanted answers to what happened to Abel. "Just make it quick," Gaia sighed. She could tell by looking into Noah's eyes that there's no stopping him. Considering her chance of killing the five-headed serpent was high with Noah, she stuck with him instead of parting ways. More than that, she had a feeling that Noah was hiding something crucial and she wanted to know what. They followed Eric as they began rushing towards the stronghold. There was no distinct difference between night and day in Inferno Hell, as there was no sun or moon, and the skies had the same crimson color all day long. It was a depressing sight. Soon after, Eric led Noah and Gaia to a manor. The manor wasn't huge, but there was a historical feeling to it. There is a secret chamber in the manor, and if my guess is correct, they should be keeping Oscar in that secret chamber. I know of an entrance behind the secret chamber. We can enter directly from there. Let's not alert Murdoch and his men, let's first get our men out. Otherwise, once we engage in a battle, Oscar and the other men might become collateral, Eric said. It seemed like Eric wanted to avoid any battles in Gaia's eyes. Behind the manor, a 7-foot beast that had the body of a dog and the head of an eagle and a pair of blood-red eyes was laying in front of the entrance to the secret chamber. It was at the level 7 core formation stage. This demon beast was caught by Murdoch. He's using it to guard the door, Eric informed them in a husky voice. The trio stood behind a boulder and looked around the manor to gauge the security. Can you shoot it from here? Noah asked Gaia. She wanted to be on the way to hunt the 5-headed serpent, not help some random humans. Yet since she might need his help defeating the serpent, she sighed and took out her bow. She knocked an arrow that had a green tip on the bow. The moment she fired the arrow, it soared through the air like a bullet before piercing through right between the beast's 2 eyes. Its body frantically twitched for a few moments before its body stopped moving completely. Its blood was still oozing out of the wound, but not even a single sound was made. Soon the trio opened up the narrow back door and snuck in. Behind the door there was a tunnel that led downwards. It was pretty dark inside. At the end of the tunnel there was an underground secret chamber. Not long after they walked in, Noah began hearing some horrible screams from the secret chamber. The screams didn't seem to stop, and it really gave them an eerie feeling. It wasn't hard for them to imagine what kind of pain the men inside were experiencing. It's Oscar. Gaia saw Noah's expression become stern. He had heard Oscar's voice from the screams just now. He couldn't bear it any longer, and his killing intent was unleashed from his body. Right now, inside the underground secret chamber. This was a huge secret chamber, and cruel torturing was being carried out right now. It was a horrible scene. Right in the middle of the secret chamber, 7 men with naked upper bodies were tied onto some iron poles. Their bodies were covered with blood, their skin was split and flesh broke forth. Horrible scars could be seen everywhere, and blood kept leaking out from their terrible wounds. Right in front of them, a luxuriously dressed adult man was sitting on a comfy chair, pleasantly watching the ongoing torturing as if he was viewing the nicest scenery. Bastard! Kill us now if you dare, kill us now! A young man in his mid-20s roared out. He kept spitting out blood as he let out terrible roars. He had the most wounds and scars on his body, and his vision was blurring. Obviously, even with his strong mentality and body, he was going to pass out after going through such cruel torture for a long period of time. This man was Oscar. You want me to kill you? Not that simple. You have offended young Master Murdoch, and that is a crime that deserves eternal torture. Men, give me something more explosive. The adult man said. There were 5 of Murdoch's men in the secret chamber, but they were only at core formation level 2. When they heard the man's words, a ferocious smile emerged on all their faces. One of them took out a palm-sized tube, then he walked up to Oscar and opened the tube. Immediately, a muddish brown snake swam out from it. The snake sent forth a pungent smell which told that it carried a deadly poison. Oscar, this is a sand rattler. I think you have heard of it before. The man said with a hideous smile on his face. After that, he placed the poisonous snake on Oscar's body. When the snake smelled the blood, it immediately went towards one of the wounds on Oscar's body, and tried its best to penetrate itself into his wound. Even the toughest men wouldn't be able to withstand this kind of pain. Oscar instantly let out a terrifying cry. A sizzling sound could be heard from his body, and his skin quickly turned into an emerald color. The pain coming from the corrosion was not something ordinary people could imagine. At the same time, terrifying screams once again sounded out throughout the entire secret chamber. I can't take it anymore. Someone let out a painful shout and was completely silent afterward. The deadly poison from the sand rattler was not something anybody could resist. Besides, all of them were severely injured. The pain they were experiencing was unimaginable. Ha! The man who was sitting in the chair let out a burst of evil laughter as if this kind of creepy scream was the most beautiful melody in this world. The pleasant feeling brought to him by torturing people could really satisfy his twisted mind, and he had learned all this from Murdoch. Right at this moment, 3 figures appeared in the secret chamber. When Noah looked at Oscar, flames of fury exploded forth in his eyes, and he was unable to restrain his anger any longer. Who are you? When the man saw the uninvited guests, his expression immediately became cold. The man who is going returned the favor. Noah's body swayed, and he arrived in front of the man in an instant. He clenched his palm onto the man's throat, causing the man to feel like there was a gigantic mountain pressing him, making it so that he couldn't even breathe properly. Eric, capture all these men but do not kill them, Noah ordered. Understood, Eric replied as he immediately dashed forwards. The 5 warriors were no match for Eric, they were pressed onto the ground in an instant. Oscar. Eric walked up to Oscar and hurriedly broke the iron chains on his body, then he helped him down. Eric, what are you doing here? Oscar kept throwing up blood as he spoke. His life force was getting weaker and weaker. Oscar, look who is here, Eric said, pointing his finger at Noah. Noah threw the man onto the floor as he hit the floor with a loud thud sound. Noah then walked up to Oscar. Oscar, I'm here to rescue you. Let's get you somewhere safe, buddy, Noah said with a smile on his face. Noah, it really is you, cough cough. When Oscar saw that Noah had come to his rescue, a joyful expression emerged on his face. But he had no idea why Noah had come to Fire Realm or why he was with Eric. Don't speak right now. Noah placed his palm onto Oscar's body. With a flick of his wrist, he created a beam of light around his palm and sucked out all the deadly poisons in Oscar's body. After that, Noah did the same to the others. Witnessing this, Eric was stunned once again. It was a deadly poison, and Noah had absorbed it all into his body, and he was still not affected by it. This was really frightening. Oscar let out another horrible cry, then he passed out instantly. When a man was relieved from a long, tense situation, he would immediately pass out. Noah, Oscar's condition is really serious, he needs a healer, Eric said. He glanced at the rest of the men, they were in a worse condition than Oscar. Gaia couldn't help wondering why Murdoch's men tortured them instead of just killing them. This made her curious. They will pay for what they did to you and your men, Oscar. Noah, Gaia heard Oscar, who was lying on the ground, barely keeping his eyes open, speak Noah's name. Oscar moved his right hand towards Noah as Gaia noticed a small glimmer inside Oscar's forearm. The key, Gaia saw a vague shape of a 3-inch key appear in Oscar's forearm before the light moved into Noah's arm and disappeared. After the energy key came into his body, Noah heard his mentor's voice in his head. With this key, we are one step closer to reviving the elders. Noah, the elders Andreas mentioned were not some run-of-the-mill elders, they were the ones who destroyed the Order of Death 3,000 years ago. The elites of Supreme Guardian. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 363. While Noah was helping injured Oscar get back to his feet, Gaia heard footsteps. She slowly moved into the dark corner of the room, not to avoid a battle but to see what else Noah could do. You have no idea what you've done, you're dead. Few of the men Eric captured muttered. Eric did a number on them by breaking several bones including the jaw. Hence they had a hard time talking. You're simply seeking death by killing the men in my stronghold. Boom. Right at this moment, a loud shout sounded out from afar as the room's door exploded into bits and pieces. The next moment, a figure emerged through the dust produced by the door. The man who stepped into the torture room was a man in his early 30s. He had an oval-shaped face like the full moon with 2 round eyes as though someone put eggs in his head instead of eyes. His body was draped in blood-red robes that swept the ground as he walked. One would expect a man capable of such cruelty would look cruel too, yet this man looked gentle as a flower. However, standing in the dark corner, Gaia could see the murderous intent in his eyes. Eyes were said to be the windows to one's soul, she could see his cruel soul through his bloodshot eyes. Young master. One of the men apprehended by Eric looked at Murdoch as if he had just found his savior. Their faces brightened up immediately. They had witnessed Murdoch's strength before and they knew that no matter how strong the young man in front of him was, there was no way he would be a match for Murdoch. After all, Murdoch was a core formation level 8 cultivator while Noah was just at the core formation level 2. Murdoch turned around, looking at the dead bodies scattered across the place. Blood was still leaking out from many of his subordinates. In an instant, fury filled his eyes. You did all this? Murdoch stared angrily at Noah. Noah didn't answer Murdoch's question. Instead, Noah just stared at him with a clenched fist. So you are Murdoch? Noah asked as he threw an examining look onto Murdoch. Young master, these guys are guardians. They ambushed us like cowards. They are. The man who tortured Oscar was called Kai. He had a frightened expression on his face, and he was unable to pull himself out of his panicked state. He couldn't say he and his men were beaten up by 2 youngsters in a couple of seconds. I will deal with you weaklings later. I have these two guardians to torture and kill. Murdoch let out a cold snort. It wasn't easy to cultivate a group of men in Hell City. All these men had pledged loyalty to him and worked under his command. He would always send them to hunt for monsters in the depths of Fire Realm, and he would be able to get a share of their harvest. Put it this way, as long as he had a group of men working for him, he would be able to enjoy good wealth and benefits without doing anything himself. In Fire Realm, monster cores were the currency. The more people he had working for him, the more monster cores he would get. He accumulated an amassed amount of monster cores over the years. Hence he was living a lavish life in Fire Realm. This was why he never left Fire Realm even though he had every chance to leave this place. Now, all his men had been injured and apprehended by guardians in such a short period of time. This was no different than messing with his life in Fire Realm. Therefore Murdoch had every right to be pissed off. Murdoch, a genius from Aragoth who turned into a warlord, quite a career change. But too bad you've offended someone you shouldn't have. You hurt my friend, you messed with a guardian. Today I'll bring my friend justice, and that's the reason why I want to throw everyone in this stronghold into the deepest dungeons of the Guardian Guild, except you. Noah slowly walked forwards with his eyes locked on Murdoch. You will regret messing with a guardian until the end of your days, Noah said without hiding the cold murderous intent in his heart. Gaia was watching the scene unfold from the dark corner. To this moment, Murdoch was unaware of her existence in the room. As far as he was concerned, he only had two guardians to deal with. Don't think I don't know why he's here. Once I sell the information I know along with him, I'm gonna be freaking rich everywhere. Murdoch burst into laughter without giving a damn about Noah's threat. Only place you're gonna sell any information to is the prison you're going. Noah shrugged. He remained standing in the same spot. Gaia saw Murdoch flicking his wrist as a round-shaped lock that glowed in a dark light appeared in his hand. There were numerous mystical symbols carved onto the lock itself. She looked closer to see the symbols were actually patterns that resembled ancient beasts. Flaming gorilla, come out now. Murdoch suddenly shouted out loudly as he yanked the lock. Dingling. The black lock vibrated violently before letting out a dinging sound. In a blink of an eye, a ground-shaking roar suddenly sounded out from the depths of the stronghold. After that, a flaming figure suddenly jumped out of the lock. It was a gorilla with a body that looked made of volcanic stones, and its entire body was emitting a flaming red light. The fire ape was over 10 meters tall, and it resembled King Kong. When the fire ape saw Murdoch, an intense hatred emerged in its eyes. But when it saw the black lock in his hand, the intense hatred was turned into fear and meekness. The fire ape let out an angry roar as it descended from the skies. It slammed into the ground with massive force, causing an explosion to sound out, the entire stronghold to shake and countless cracks to appear on the ground. It unleashed tremendous arch energy combined with scorching flames, enough to send fear deep into one's heart. Guardian Noah, be careful, this is a flaming gorilla. It's a bloody level 10 core formation stage beast. I don't know how Murdoch managed to make this flaming gorilla obey his command. That thing somehow makes him control the wild beasts. Eric's expression changed, and without any hesitation he explained to Noah. Normally, ancient beasts all had violent tempers, and considered humans their mortal enemies or simply food, even more so for beasts who had broken through to the core formation stage. All of them had their own feelings of pride and dignity, and they would rather die than be controlled by a human. This flaming gorilla had reached level 10 of the core formation stage and just a few months of cultivation away from breaking through to the core strengthening stage, yet it was still being controlled by Murdoch. Gaia was both intrigued and confused. Looking at the lock made Gaia feel something wired. It was like the lock was pulling her close and commanding her to get close. That's a demonic beast tamer. It took Gaia a few seconds to recognize the lock. She had read about this artifact before but never had the chance to see one until now. According to the text she read, these locks were forged by a 6-star human blacksmith who had deep hatred towards other races. He forged the locks to tame and enslave anyone except a human. The 7 locks were said to be lost in time except she found one today. Murdoch smiled as he raised the demonic beast tamer in his hand and waved it towards the flaming gorilla, then he gave out an order. Flaming gorilla, kill this man for me. Murdoch pointed at Noah. Brr. The flaming gorilla was furious and flames were shooting out from its eyes. As a beast grew up in the fire realm, it had its own pride and dignity, that's why it felt extremely enraged upon being controlled by a human. However, because of the demonic beast tamer, it was forced to obey Murdoch's command. The appearance of Noah had given it a target to release its anger on. It wanted to vent all its anger on Noah. Bang! The flaming gorilla punched a huge hole in the ground, Then it jumped into the air, forcefully throwing its majestic body which was covered in scorching flames toward Noah. Eric's expression changed dramatically. With his cultivation level he could handle a fire core formation level 2 or 3 warriors, but not a level 10 beast like the flaming gorilla. A brutal opponent like this was really frightening. Pathetic, Noah snickered. Despite the flaming gorilla that's flying towards him in rage, he remained calm. It reminded Gaia of Ghost. Light range, Noah calmly uttered the 2 words as Gaia saw the torture room suddenly gets brighter and brighter. The flaming gorilla stopped rampaging towards Noah as it started to feel threatened by the human in front of it. Release. Instead of unsheathing his words, Noah just raised his finger towards the lock and shouted. The very next moment, a bolt of bright light appeared out of Noah's finger. The light bolt soared through the gorilla without harming it, but when it touched the lock trembled. What the? Murdoch was stunned to see the lock trembling in his hand like never before. In a few seconds the lock exploded into tiny bits and pieces. The very next moment, a vortex appeared in the room that pulled the flaming gorilla into it. The flaming gorilla let out shrill cries, all of its furs were standing up. It tried to run away from the pulling force, yet its efforts were in vain because, in a few seconds, the flaming gorilla disappeared from the room into the vortex. The blast force produced by the destruction of the lock sent Murdoch flying into the wall behind him. Young master! Murdoch's men shouted. Arg, cough! Murdoch coughed up thick blood while Noah walked towards him. Murdoch could vaguely see Noah through his blurry vision. He tried to stand up but he failed to do so due to internal wounds. Gaia watched Noah putting his hand on Murdoch's head. Break! If Ghost was here he would have killed Murdoch by now, Gaia knew that. However, Noah didn't seem to be interested in killing Murdoch. He just put his hand on Murdoch's head as a bright light enveloped Murdoch in a blink of an eye. Gaia's eyes widened in shock, seeing Murdoch's cultivation level gradually becoming lower and lower. In a few minutes, Murdoch hit rock bottom as he became a commoner. He crippled him, Gaia muttered in shock because it didn't seem like typical crippling, rather, it seemed like he locked away Murdoch's ability to cultivate or use arch energy completely. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 364. When the commentators and the VIP guests returned to their seats, the sky was decorated with colorful fireworks. They painted the sky as though each firework was a master artist. The fireworks exploded into all kinds of shapes such as dragons, birds, lions, dancing men, and finally the name Ghost. The Sunrise Sect Pavilion erupted into cheers when they saw the name Ghost occupy all the sky above them. Nightmare flew straight into the air, decorating the golden words with his crimson-red dragon breath. The fireworks weren't arranged by Ghost or anyone he knew. On the contrary, it was arranged by people he never knew, the merchants and the tournament committee. Layla was looking at the sky as the flashes of light reflected in her beautifully crafted hazel eyes. Welcome to the quarter-final, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at the sky, Darius snapped as all the fireworks merged to form the words quarter-final. As usual, we will go through the rules and regulations. Just like the third round, participants can use whatever is necessary to defeat their opponent. Each battle will be one-on-one. The judges and the guests will score the battle according to how long the battle lasted, how the battle ended as if it was a knockout or surrender, and the 5 winners will be ranked according to their total score. The one with the least score will be eliminated and the first 4 will go to the semi-final. Since Miss Selena withdrew from the tournament for personal reasons, we will select a random participant among the 9 and send him or her directly to the semi-final, Ishihara said. The commoners sighed hearing the news, but the nobles did not seem surprised. They expected Selena to leave the tournament. Everyone knew it wouldn't have been her choice, rather her family forced her to withdraw from the competition instead of facing Ghost and ended up being killed or worse. Although there were only 1 of 5 chances for Selena to end up facing Ghost, her family didn't want to take the risk. Soon, the giant mirror broadcasted all the 9 participants' figures as each figure had a color coin beside them. For instance, Andrews had the color gold coin while Paul Oswin had a blue coin. 9 participants were assigned 9 coins. When the mirrors broadcasted Michael's figure, the entire arena once again let out their thunderous cheers. Coincidentally or intentionally, he was assigned a black coin. Under the crowd's excited gazes, 9 bright orbs emerged from the battle stage. In a few seconds, the bright light faded away to reveal the palm-sized coins. Her Royal Highness Catherine would pick the lucky participant who will go to the semi-final without competing in the quarter-final. He or she will also be safe from the elimination, James Hall said. While the coins were floating in a circle, one of the coordinators landed before the coins with a wooden box in his hand. He picked the coins one by one and put them into the wooden box. The coordinator then flew towards the stage where the princess was sitting alongside the king and the other VIPs. Who do you think will get the lucky chance, guys? Ishihara asked. It's luck, Ishihara, we can't predict luck, James Hall said while the coordinator was flying towards the princess. Some would call it luck, some would call it fate, Darius said in his rough voice. The arena was rather silent as they were too focused on the wooden box. They wanted to see who was the lucky one. Many prayed that the princess wouldn't take the black coin. They wanted to see Ghost fight. Unlike many young masters, they knew they can't see Ghost fight very often. Until this tournament, many didn't even know he could fight. He was the least controversial prodigy in Elon who liked to mind his own business and make fewer enemies. Please be Andrews. Please be Andrews. Imelda prayed to the gods while Diana prayed to be her son. She didn't want Andrews to get on the same stage as Ghost. The last thing she needed was her son to kill his cousin. After destroying Sky Hall and everyone who would hurt her son, Diana wanted him to have a family that he never had. Your Royal Highness, the coordinator bowed his head slightly, handing over the wooden box to Princess Catherine. Despite the thousands of eyes on her, Catherine sported a smile on her face. No one except a few didn't know she was praying to pick the golden coin, which was Andrews. It took a few moments for her to grab a coin in the wooden box. Even though she couldn't see the coin she grabbed, she just hoped it would be the golden coin. I'm excited, Ishihara giggled. Everyone's gaze was on the princess as she slowly retrieved her hands from the wooden box. Black coin. Many gasped in shock, including the princess herself. Catherine's heart skipped a beat looking at the black coin in her hand. Drops of sweat formed on her smooth forehead. He got one step closer to marrying her. If Andrews couldn't defeat Ghost, her father would announce that he will marry her to Ghost. Catherine would rather die than marry that monster in human form. It's decided then. Ghost will go to the semi-finals directly, James Hall said as the participants felt relieved. After seeing what he did to Alex and Peter, none of them wanted to face him in a battle. Andrews on the other hand had a mixed feeling. He was glad that he didn't have to face Ghost in the quarterfinal, but he was troubled thinking that he needed to eventually face him. Now without further delay, let's begin the quarterfinals, Darius' voice reverberated through the arena. As usual, the body-strengthening stage warriors came to the battle stage to pick their opponents while core formation participants were busy strategizing. It's time for us to witness the final fight of the day. The crowd wasn't as excited as before when the last fight had Ghost. Let's have thunderous cheers for our competitors, Paul Oswin and Andrew Winston. Andrew has become the dark horse of the competition, guys, Ishihara commented while waiting for Andrew and Paul to come to the battle stage. Yes, it's really stunning to see a rune master with level 3 core formation stage cultivation to come this far, Ishihara nodded as James Hall continued. Many commoners even root for Andrew. People seem to love underdogs. I can see a resolution in Andrew's eyes. It's like he's fighting for something valuable and bigger than the championship title and the rewards, Darius' words echoed in Catherine's mind. Andrew was fighting for her, no one knew that except her. Humph, underdogs are good for entertainment but not for life, King Bredia snickered. He wanted Ghost to win the tournament so he could make him the Baron of Bradford Barony and marry Catherine to him. If Ghost married Catherine, he knew Ghost would protect his daughter as a good husband should. No matter what, he would only marry his daughter to a warrior who could protect Catherine in all situations. The last time Andrew fought, he didn't seem like an underdog to me. He defeated his opponent with a single spell, Ishihara reminded everyone of Andrew's third-round fight. Ghost had the longest fight with Peter and Alex while Andrew had the shortest fight. James Hall paused for a moment and continued. Everyone knew Noah Winston. The moment James Hall uttered the name Noah, the entire arena shook in thunderous cheers. The commoners screamed his name as loud as they could. The three commentators had to go silent for a few moments. Michael had the undying support of Rivertown because he took care of Rivertown, a small town. Noah, however, helped and took care of several small towns, villages, and hundreds or even thousands of commoners in his life. After becoming a guardian, he had the authority and the resources to really help people as well as punish the evil. Hence commoners loved Noah. The admiration towards Noah was still growing up among the commoners. Andrew's cousin is a warrior prodigy, but no one knew Andrew was just as talented as his guardian cousin. They were both blessed with specializations too. After the cheers died down, James Hall spoke. They are here. Before Ishihara could speak about Paul Oswin, both the participants landed on the battle stage. I always thought I would end up fighting your cousin but never thought I would face you, Paul smiled. He didn't radiate any pride or haughtiness or arrogance. Life is strange that way, Paul. The spell you used earlier, was that a legendary one? Many people gasped in shock just by hearing the word legendary. Even nobles leaned forwards to hear Andrew's answer. I was not that fortunate, Paul. It was an epic spell. I enhanced it with a few runes. Paul's brows arched up as he nodded. He then looked up at the coordinators. Shall we start the battle? I have places to be, Paul asked the coordinators before turning his gaze back to Andrew. There is no shame in surrendering, Andrew. We Oswins have a wedding in our family, so starting it with murder will be a bad omen. I will give you the same advice, Paul. Andrew's words didn't make Paul mad as many expected. He just smiled. Unlike many other young masters in prominent families, Paul avoided making unnecessary enemies. He forced on cultivating and minding his own business. Because of his character, some loved him while some loathed him in the Oswin family. Let's begin the battle. Michael will be back on This chapter needed to be written to let the story flow smoothly. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 365. After the bell rang indicating the start of the battle, both Andrew and Paul took out their weapons from their space rings. A longbow materialized in Paul's hand while the quiver appeared on his back with a bunch of silver arrows. The bow looked no different than any ordinary longbow without any magical symbols or glowing runes on them. Yet no one underestimated the power of the bow after seeing Paul defeat all of his opponents easily with the bow. On the other hand, Andrew took out his 2 emerald green daggers. Unlike Paul's bow, the daggers had glowing runes on them. There were hundreds of small runes placed on the daggers. One of them was the rune that connected Layla's power to Andrew. No one could see through Andrew's cheat. Layla was a master at runes and arrays. Hence she knew how to avoid getting detected by the arrays on the battlefield. The arrays on the battle stage were actually designed by one of the students who studied under the same tutelage as her. Layla knew her attacks wouldn't work on Ghost, but she made some modifications to the runes on Andrew's daggers. She believed it would defeat Ghost. Deep down in her heart, Layla wanted Ghost to be a good righteous man instead of being cruel and evil. She didn't want him to change for her but for someone else. The first step to changing him was making him understand the power of true love. Although Andrew had her power, she knew that without strong willpower, his mind and body would have literally exploded. It was love that kept Andrew alive. On the battle stage, Paul knocked a silver arrow in the bowstring to fire at Andrew. He didn't cast any spells but just wanted to test Andrew's reaction time and speed. Ice Shield. Andrew immediately cast a spell that formed a wall of ice before him. The arrow penetrated the ice shield a couple of inches but couldn't break the shield. Sonic Arrow. Without giving Andrew to mount up an offensive spell, Paul fired another arrow. This time, when the arrow left the bowstring, it produced a booming sound as it soared through the air towards Andrew. Andrew immediately leaped out of the safety of the ice shield. The moment the sonic arrow touched the ice shield, the shield exploded into pieces. Instead of falling to the ground, the arrow flew back into Paul's hand like a boomerang. He fired the arrow yet again at Andrew. Ice Shield. The shield spell could be cast quickly, hence Andrew cast the spell again to save himself from the arrow. Since Andrew had the power of Layla, the shield stopped Paul's arrow from penetrating through the shield to impale Andrew. The ice shield grew up to 7 feet from the stage. Using the split second before the arrow destroyed the shield, Andrew placed a rune on the shield. Then he dashed away from the cover of the shield. Unaware of the rune, Paul fired the arrow yet again. The arrow pierced through the air like a bullet. When the arrow's tip touched the ice shield didn't explode but the arrow bounced back. Paul didn't expect the arrow to bounce back. But before he could react, the arrow exploded in the mid-air, sending a shock wave at Paul. The rune was supposed to send back a portion of the attack's power to the attacker. Since Andrew had the power of Layla, the rune almost returned 100% power back to Paul. It was like Paul hit himself with the sonic arrow. Paul was knocked back by the shock wave as Andrew dashed at Paul to close the gap between them. Because Paul was an archer, Andrew knew getting closer to Paul would put him in a disadvantageous position. While running towards Paul, Andrew drew symbols in the air as the crowd saw golden runes appear in the air before disappearing into the battle stage. They saw similar runes when Peter fought Ghost. Many doubted Paul could break the runes as Ghost did. Seeing Andrew running towards him, Paul immediately tried to take another arrow from his quiver but he was too late as Andrew leaped into the air. Gates of Valhalla. Cling. In the mid-air, Andrew shouted as he smacked the two daggers together. Suddenly Paul felt an immense pressure on him like he was being crushed by an invisible mountain. Arg, cough, cough. Paul caught up blood as the pressure increased by multiple folds. At this point Andrew almost came down on him with his full might. Paul tried to move his body yet he couldn't move at all. Meanwhile, lying on the bed, Michael was watching the battle in a 55-inch mirror. He felt like watching television back on Earth. So Layla is somehow enhancing his power. Interesting, Michael snickered. Don't underestimate Layla. The system can sense some changes in the energy patterns. Although these energy patterns cannot kill you, it can still harm you. The system informed Michael, I'm pretty sure you can make me immune. For a price, of course. But do you want the system to make you immune? You want to cheat? Isn't Andrew cheating right now? If it wasn't for Layla, Andrew would not be here. Besides, I have bigger things to worry about than dealing with Layla's bitchiness and petty feuds. Michael turned the pages of Lord Information's book to learn more about Wuxia. Are you thinking about taking the guild leader position? The system was more talkative than usual. Michael was too focused on building a revenge plan against Wuxia to mind the system's talkative nature. Not thinking. I already decided to take the position of guild leader. Aren't you supposed to take revenge for Abras as you promised him? Oh? Then how about we go to Wuxia tomorrow? Ask the princess and her royal family to kneel down and let me kill them, he said sarcastically. Sarcasm much? No shit. According to this book, they are already powerful enough to wipe out Bredia and any kingdom in Elon within a few weeks. Those bastards are just dragging the war to hide their true power. Just thinking about Wuxia made his blood boil. He could vividly see the princess sending a dagger through his heart that she promised to take care of. Abras gave the princess his heart and she put a dagger through it. Still, Michael didn't know Abras was just another piece of his soul. I can use their resources to become stronger and I can plan my revenge under their nose. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer system. Calvin didn't recognize you but the princess will. And now you can't change your face as Calvin had seen your original face. Abras always sported a clean-shaven look with long hair. When I have to meet the princess I can go with a long Viking beard and short hair. As far as they are concerned they killed Abras. They won't expect to see him again. While talking he looked at the mirror to see Paul and Andrew still fighting. Paul seemed to be in a worse state than Andrew. Paul's sleeves had been torn away as he had blood coming out of his mouth and nose. They have the cosmic stream host. The more time you waste, the stronger they would become. The system warned Michael. Then I will become stronger. If I wanted to kill that bitch and her family, I would have done it by now. I don't want to kill them, death is mercy for them. What are you planning to do? In his anger, Michael failed to notice the fear in the system's voice. I will make the princess and everyone they care about experience hell. I don't like to torture people but I will make an exception for them. I will enjoy every second of it. Anyone who stands in my path will die. Wuxia will burn. The entire room became darker as he spoke. The system noticed his strength slowly increasing. In this world, many cultivators are doing evil shits every day. But the Guardians painted me like the manifestation of evil, the Dark Lord. I will show the Guardians what I am really capable of. Michael stood up from the bed as he walked towards the mirror. May gods have mercy upon Thusians, 'cause I want, at this exact moment, a large tree could be seen on a lonely mountain. The large tree stood alone atop the mountain. One could see a figure tied to the tree. The figure was more like merged with the tree itself. The figure's face was covered in moths, mud and blood. He had a gray beard and shaggy hair. His body was riddled with scars as though he was cut thousands of times by someone. My God is here, the figure smiled looking in the direction of the Elon continent. Back in Michael's room, he was staring at the mirror as Andrew stood beside Paul with his daggers against Paul's throat. I surrender, Michael heard Paul utter the words. The crowd erupted in cheers as Andrew plummeted to the ground in exhaustion. In the giant mirrors, Michael saw Imelda clapping in joy with tears of joy running down on her face. He then saw the crowd cheering as loud as they could for the underdog of this tournament, Andrew. Even Claire and the elders of the Sunrise sect were clapping to show their support without having any idea of how Andrew managed to beat Paul. Ding, ding, ding. Suddenly, before the coordinators helped Andrew and Paul leave the stage, 3 loud bell sounds reverberated the arena. The view of the battle stage immediately changed to the VIP stage in the mirror. They all saw King Bredia stand up with a grin on his face. Please, he raised his hand as the crowd immediately became silent. I have an announcement to make. The winner of the Core Formation Championship will be rewarded with the title Baron along with Bradford Barony. For people like Ashton, it wasn't a piece of surprising news, but for commoners, it was another story. Many sounds of gasping could be heard in the arena. The king stayed silent for a few moments before speaking again. "And the hand of my daughter, Princess Catherine, in marriage. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments." Chapter 366. On this cloudy morning, there were growing patches of blue, the sort of hue that was soft and bright at the same time. Though beneath the sheet of cloud was a gray that deepened to steel, the leading edge was a brilliant white, as if it was the pages of a new book ready for any curious eye. So, on this day that could bring rain or sunshine, no one in the arena except the VIP guests and commentators remained in their seats. Their eyes were glued to the battle stage. In the center of the battle stage, two figures were laying on the floor. One was completely bathed in blood from head to toe. The other one was no different than the other, except he knelt on the battle stage on one knee. Anyone could tell he was about to tumble down any second. The figure laid on the ground was Dukan, a rogue cultivator, while the other was Andrew. This was the first fight of the semi-final which would decide the finalist. As Andrew was fighting with everything he got to stay awake, the coordinators landed on the ground to check on Dukan. "Knockout!" The coordinator's voice echoed through the arena as the crowd erupted into cheers for Andrew. "Andrew has entered the final. He has made history, reaching the final with the lowest cultivation level. That kid really put up a fight. I'm really impressed." Followed by Ishihara and Jameis comments. Darius also praised Andrew. The entire arena was shouting Andrew's name as the fireworks decorated the sky along with their thunderous exploding sounds. Princess Catherine quickly wiped off the tear running out of her eyes before anyone could see her watery eyes. "Andrew! Andrew! 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 Andrew!" The crowd kept chanting Andrew's name. Surprisingly, their cheers gave Andrew a little bit of strength to stay still instead of falling onto the ground. The fight between Andrew and Dukan went for almost an hour and a half. Although Andrew had the power of Layla behind him, Dukan fought strategically, which made defeating him difficult for Andrew. Andrew was a core formation level 2 runemaster while Dukan was a level 6 core formation warrior. Many thought this match was the end of Andrew's journey as the power gap between them was too wide. However, Andrew proved everyone wrong and defeated Dukan. Andrew almost died defeating Dukan. Andrew has proved to us that the willpower can overcome the cultivation level difference. Even if Andrew couldn't win the tournament, his name will be remembered for years to come. James Hall praised Andrew. He will be an inspiration for many cultivators. His journey will show the others that one can overcome a cultivation difference with willpower and courage. Ishihara joined James Hall in praising Andrew. The Winstons felt extremely proud of Andrew at the moment. At first, they all doubted him and even tried to stop him from competing in the tournament. Nonetheless, Noah vouched for Andrew and gave his support. Even Andrew's mother Natalia didn't want Andrew to participate as she was afraid of him getting hurt. Natalia was the softest among the three Hunt sisters. Regardless of Andrew's reasons to compete in the tournament, Natalia tried to stop him because she couldn't even think about losing her son. Help them reach the infirmary. The coordinators lifted Andrew and Dukan and flew towards the infirmary. Eventually, after a team of maids cleaned up the blood off the battle stage, the crowd became excited again. Since the next fight would decide the finalist who is going to fight Andrew, the crowd was on the edge of their seats. Moreover, they were excited to see Ghost. "It's time for the battle we've been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen," Ishihara announced. "And don't worry people, the battle will not be stopped if it rains." Hearing Darius' voice, many sighed in relief. The sky was filled with dark clouds and everyone could hear thunderclaps in the distance. Heavy downpour was evident, but no one wanted the rain to interrupt the battle. "Participant Reagan and participant Ghost of Sunrise Sect, please come to the stage." The moment Ishihara uttered the name Ghost, the arena once again let out thunderous cheers. Almost 2/3 of the arena were bouncing up and down, showing signs boards that had the letters "We Love Ghost," waving black flags as well as Sunrise Sect flags, and shouting Ghost's name as loud as they could. Even those who hated Ghost, such as Morningstar disciples, became jealous of the support and cheers Ghost received. As the fans were cheering, Reagan landed on the battle stage with a swift leap. Reagan was a tall man, standing 6'2" tall. This bronze-skinned man had a really tough feel about him. A particularly notable feature was his muscular build. His hip-length, shiny, light brown hair, currently dip-dyed at the ends with shades of sky blue, features a messy fringe. He has a uniquely styled, perfectly trimmed beard. His square face with brown eyes didn't show any emotions looking at the cheers for his opponent, Ghost. Waiting for Ghost, Reagan flicked his wrist as a 7-foot warhammer appeared in his hand. Unlike the other participants, Reagan wore no armor to protect himself. He just wore leather pants adorned with gray fur and long snakeskin boots. Layla was watching Reagan with the other commoners. She was in a battle with her heart and mind. After talking to her mentor and contemplating what happened inside the treacherous ocean, she understood that Ghost was to be blamed completely. She knew it was her impulse that led to the first energies occupying their bodies, which led to spirit walking. He had no choice, her mind told her that, but her heart was burning in fury. He took her purity, her heart couldn't accept it. After threatening him of destroying everyone he cares about, she felt disgusted with herself. She knew she acted like a first-class hypocrite. How could she call him evil after she herself threatened to kill innocents? The fact she couldn't hurt him at all made her feel weak and helpless. She hated the feeling of being weak. In front of him she was exactly that. Initially, when she came to the tournament, she wanted to tell Ghost about something important that could change both of their lives forever. However, after seeing Ghost's cruelty, ruthlessness, and bloodthirsty nature, she decided otherwise. Ghost? Ghost. 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 Just as she was thinking, the cheers couldn't get any louder, the arena erupted louder. The figure of Ghost in the giant mirror stopped her train of thoughts. Weirdly, Ghost reminded her of Noah. Only Ghost didn't have the warmth and kindness that Noah had. Michael slowly descended onto the battle stage after winking at Nightmare, who was enjoying the battle sitting on Claire's lap. He was a majestic, fearful dragon, but when he was with Claire, he would turn into a puppy. Because Reagan was a rogue cultivator, except for a very few, no one knew or heard about him before. Coupled with the fact that Reagan always ended up with opponents who were weaker than him, didn't raise any support for him. Despite the bodybuilder-like physique of Reagan, Michael was not even a bit worried. Reagan was just a core formation level 6 warrior after all. Instead of unsheathing his two swords, Michael put his hands behind his back and looked at Reagan with a smile. Despite most people's opinion about rogue cultivators, I respect you guys. I was one of you before joining the Sunrise sect. Michael's voice was amplified by the runes to let everyone hear his voice loud and clear. You didn't survive this long by fighting every battle in your way. Your life depends on every fight you pick, so don't pick a fight you can't win. The crowd was not stupid not to understand the meaning behind Michael's words. He was telling Reagan to back off. His words were on the border of threat and advice. Many nobles expected a rugged man such as Reagan to get mad at Ghost for speaking these words. However, Reagan just sighed as the war hammer in his hand disappeared back into his space ring. You are right, we rogues need to know when to back down. Reagan let out a sigh as he continued. This is a battle I cannot win. Michael nodded with a smile. I hope you remember me, Ghost. Anyone who isn't my foe is my friend. Michael's words put a gentle smile on Reagan's face. He looked around the arena for a while before slowly ascending to the air. I hope we will meet again, Ghost, Reagan said while floating in the midair. He then looked at the coordinators around him. I forfeit, Reagan said before flying away from the arena. People were stunned to see Reagan quit like this. He decided to quit before even exchanging a few blows with Ghost. Many thought what he did was a shameful act and an act of cowardice. Guys, what just happened? Ishihara's brows arched up. What do you think? Reagan forfeited the battle. The coordinators murmured among themselves while the crowd was looking at Ghost speechlessly. Even Ghost supporters was unable to believe what just happened. They were expecting an exchange of blows, not words. Ghost wins. The coordinators announced. It took a few moments for the crowd to open their mouths again to cheer. They were stunned. Catherine's heart skipped a beat listening to the commenters announce that Ghost had reached the final. When the crowd finally began to cheer, Ghost already left the battle stage. This was the shortest semi-final they all had seen in their lives. Ghost just came, said a few words to Reagan and made him forfeit the battle. Unlike Andrew, who shed almost all of his blood, Ghost had entered the final without even breaking a sweat. I hope you don't mind being called Lady Ghost, Kathy. King Bredia leaned closer to Catherine's ears and said with a chuckle. This is it, my dear readers, the chapter before the finals. Andrew versus Michael will begin from the. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 367. After the semi-final round between Ghost and Reagan, the commentators announced a 6 hours break before the final of Body Strengthening Stage Cultivators. In the final, Sabrina faced Victoria. The final battle lasted for an hour before Sabrina overpowered Victoria and defeated her. The battle between the girls kept everyone on the edge of their seats. Even Ashton, who wasn't very interested in the tournament, watched the fight without batting an eye. Many expected Sabrina to give a speech after winning the championship while the commoners wondered what would be the rewards. However, Sabrina just said thank you to the crowd and left the battle stage. Taking the Pegasi carriage offered to her by the Holy Trident Academy, Sabrina flew towards where Andrew was staying. The sun had almost disappeared into the horizon when she reached the manor where Andrew was staying. Young miss, when her carriage landed, quickly few of the guards staying outside guarding the door came to open the carriage door. They bent forwards to show their respects. Andrew inside? Yes, young miss. Sabrina hastened inside to meet her cousin, leaving the carriage under the care of the guards. At first Sabrina thought winning the championship tournament would make her feel pleased, or at least something, except it didn't. Although she fought with Victoria for almost an hour, she didn't use her full power. If she had defeated Elia, she knew she would have felt different. However, Sabrina could not think about anything at the moment except her cousin's condition. She hastened inside the home. Entering the manor, she walked straight to the hall where she saw Andrew with several people standing around him. She expected Andrew to be in his room taking a rest. Instead, she found him surrounded by people. Andrew was resting on the sofa while Imelda had her hand on his shoulder. She was consoling him. Sabrina saw her mother, Aunt Imelda, a hooded person who stood in a corner of the hall, Alicia and Norvin. Sabi Imelda was surprised to see Sabrina enter the hall. All of their gazes, including Andrew's, fell on Sabrina. You won? Diana asked as though she already knew the answer. Sabrina gave a small nod before walking towards Andrew. Shouldn't you be celebrating your win right now, Sabi? Andrew asked with a gentle smile on his face as usual. He tried to hide his worries with a smile, but Sabrina could see through the facade. I know why you are worried, Andrew. Andrew raised his brows as Sabrina smiled. Dad isn't very good at keeping secrets from me, Andrew. Don't you know that? I know that, Andrew sighed as he chuckled. How is your brother Ali? Sabrina asked Alicia. Alicia remained silent. The healers said they could only heal the physical wounds, not the mental ones, Norvin answered instead of Alicia. Sabrina sighed. What Ghost did to him was cruel and ruthless. However, Sabrina also knew Peter brought it on him by himself. No one asked Peter to dress up as a vigilante to ambush Ghost and other prodigies just to prove he is better than them. Time will heal everything, Imelda said. Alicia nodded, but she knew the mental wounds of Peter would never heal unless he could defeat Ghost and humiliate him as Ghost did to him. Andrew, I'm asking you again. Are you sure you want to do this? Diana asked Andrew. Is there any other way we can convince Catherine's father? Imelda asked a question after Diana. Can Catherine tell her father she loves you? Sabrina asked. Andrew was getting bombarded with questions until Alicia opened her mouth. Why is everyone talking like he's going to lose? When we all, including me, thought Andrew couldn't do this, he came this far and proved us wrong. He will defeat Ghost, have some faith in him. Everyone was speechless for a few moments. They couldn't argue with Alicia's words. It's because I cheated, suddenly Andrew said, stunning everyone. Cheated? What are you talking about? Imelda creased her brows. Except for Diana and Alicia, everyone looked flabbergasted. Alicia knew about Noah's deal with Layla and her involvement in Andrew's victory. Diana, however, didn't know anything about Layla or Noah's deal with her, but she was able to tell that something was amiss. If it wasn't for Lady Alden, I wouldn't have reached this far. Lady Alden? Layla Alden? Sabrina literally started to shiver hearing the name. Without your mental resolution and willpower, you would have died taking my power. They all heard the melodious voice as they turned their eyes towards the hooded person. Sabrina saw the hooded one taking off her hood, covering her head to reveal her angelic face. Sabrina felt like she was going to faint. The woman in front of her was Layla Alden, one of the legends of this world. She had only seen Layla in the paintings in her Holy Trident Academy. Layla was a pride of all woman cultivators. She was the embodiment of woman power. How far would you go for the girl you love, Andrew? Layla asked as everyone stared at her in shock. I give my life for her, slap. The moment Andrew finished speaking these words, a slapping sound could be heard in the hall. Sabrina was stunned to see her always gentle and warm Aunt Imelda slap Andrew. No one could believe he got slapped by Imelda. Are you really prepared to give your life for a girl you know for how long? A year? Or 2 years? What about us, your family? What about your mother? Imelda was stuck between worry and anger. Her eyes were bloodshot. You're gonna quit whining, go out there and defeat Ghost. Cheating or no cheating, you will defeat him. You know why? Because you have us. Her words did not motivate Andrew but somewhat calmed the storm within him. If you can't defeat him, don't be stupid to fight till you die. Just say you surrender and we will figure out how to deal with everything that follows later. Norvin gave a piece of advice of his own. Unlike Imelda, Norvin doubted Andrew could really defeat Ghost. As much as Norvin wanted Andrew to defeat him, he was less optimistic about that. Diana was in a world of her own thinking. All the people in the room thought Ghost was some kind of monster. Ever since he was born, he has faced nothing but tragedies. And he faced everything life throws at him alone. She didn't know why they called him the Dark Lord when there are hundreds or even thousands of evil cultivators who were capable of great evil roaming the work as they speak. Meanwhile, in Michael's room, he was sitting in front of Calvin reading several parchments on the glass table. "Feel free to tell me if you have any changes to be made," Calvin said with a smile. "No changes required, Calvin. I hope you guys will have my back when the time comes." Michael inked the quill to sign the parchments as he spoke. "Don't worry, King Bredia won't go to war with you if you choose to reject the princess." Michael looked up at Calvin with his brows arched up. Michael was surprised to see Calvin grasp the upcoming problem without any explanation. "Like I said, I did my research. I know you are not going to accept the marriage proposal. Naturally, rejecting a king's offer would result in problems. But worry not, Thusia will have your back. This time, he'll be the one stabbing you in the back," Michael thought to himself. "It will be a pleasure to work with Thusians," as he said. Michael signed his name on the parchment. With this sign, he had officially become the guild leader of the Thusian Alchemy Guild. Finally, Michael stood up to shake Calvin's hands. "Welcome aboard, Ghost." After shaking Michael's hand with a wide grin on his face, Calvin handed over a space ring to Michael. "This contains some welcoming gifts from Thusia, Ghost. I hope you like them." The final day of the tournament began with a drizzle. The dark rain clouds filled the sky like marching soldiers. The thunderclaps in the distance implied the upcoming heavy downpour. The arena was filled with chit-chat from the fans. Not a single person who wasn't in the conversation of who would win the championship. Of course, many voted for Ghost while only a few voted for Andrew. "Welcome to the finals, ladies and gentlemen." Ishihara's announcement finally brought down the volume of their chit-chat. But only for a few moments, though, as the crowd yet again erupted into cheers. "It has been a roller coaster ride, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think, guys?" James Hall asked. "I think we better start the final before they start a riot," Ishihara giggled. "Before we start the final, let us see the journey of the two finalists. Andrew Winston and Ghost." After Darius spoke, the giant mirror began to broadcast the highlights of both Ghost and Andrew's battles. Seeing both of their battles gave goosebumps to the commoners and raised their expectations to another level. The highlight reel went for almost 15 minutes. Looking at the reels, Alicia once again shivered in anger. She wanted to destroy the mirrors to oblivion when they showed Ghost mopping the floor with her brother. What disturbed her more was the people who roared seeing Ghost's ruthlessness. Sitting on her throne, Catherine clenched her fist tightly. Her heart pounded against her chest looking at the vial in her hand. The king was too focused on Ghost's highlights reels to notice the vial in his daughter's hands. Finalists Andrew Winston and Ghost, please come to the battle stage. The entire arena was shouting the names Ghost and Andrew to show their support. The majority of the crowd was waving black flags. Under their thunderous cheers, Andrew appeared above the battle stage and slowly descended onto the battle stage. Andrew ignored all the cheers to focus on the upcoming battle. Ghost. 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 While Andrew was trying to ignore the shouts, he heard the arena erupt in cheers. He looked up to see Ghost slowly descending onto the battle stage with his black long coat fluttering in the wind. Unlike Andrew, Ghost seemed calm with his usual smile on his face. "Shall we start, Andrew? If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments." Chapter 368. The distant howling sound of the wind coupled with the thunderclaps gave off an ominous feeling. The violent wind made waving the signs and flags difficult, yet the wind couldn't completely stop them. Michael's long black coat fluttered in the wind behind, revealing the black turtleneck and the lines of his chest and abs. After asking Andrew, Michael looked up at the coordinators. "Guys, can we start the battle now? I have a barony to look." Except for a very few, none of them thought of him as arrogant. Ding, ding, ding. Let the battle begin. As though the coordinators were working for him, they started the battle. Andrew stared at him with his two daggers in his hands. He was expecting Ghost to cast a spell. After watching all of Ghost's fight and strategizing with Layla and Sabrina, Andrew was somewhat prepared. "Andrew," instead of unsheathing his swords, Michael smiled at Andrew. "Dude, you can come up with new ways to get what you want instead of this. Regardless of what Noah did to the Silent Reaper," Michael didn't want to hurt Noah's family. They were nothing but good to him. He knew Layla was kinda using Andrew to prove to him that nothing's stronger and purer than love. He couldn't understand Layla's logic completely. "This is the only way, Ghost," Andrew said as Michael sighed. "So be it." Michael began to walk forward towards Andrew. He didn't cast lightning dash or any spell, he just walked towards Andrew without even taking out his swords. Gates of Valhalla. Andrew didn't waste any time. He immediately cast one of the strongest spells he has in his arsenal. The whole arena was silent as only the thunderclaps and the howling sound of the wind could be heard. They were staring at Michael and Andrew without batting an eye. The commentators were going about, but Michael or Andrew didn't hear what they were saying. Claire was looking at Andrew with pity. Reflective shield. Michael just uttered the word while walking towards Andrew. When Andrew cast Gates of Valhalla on Paul Oswin, he was crushed by immense pressure. However, when Andrew cast the spell on Ghost, nothing happened. Ghost was just a few meters away from Andrew. Emerald Thorns. After competing in a couple of life or death battles, Andrew's thinking and reflexes became quicker. Hence, instead of being stunned by the uselessness of the Gates of Valhalla, Andrew cast another spell immediately. From the two daggers in Andrew's hands, Michael saw emerald green spikes coming towards him like arrows. There were numerous spikes the size of an arrow pierced through the air to impale him. Andrew was shooting like he was holding two machine guns that fired spikes rapidly. Standing among the crowd, Layla's eyes began to water up. She spent months creating runes that could change her energy patterns so she would not be defenseless against Ghost. She used those runes to give Andrew the ability to fight against Ghost, hoping it would hurt him. Yet, neither the Gates of Valhalla nor the Emerald Thorns couldn't even graze him. Imelda's heart was pounding against her chest as Ghost got closer to Andrew. Ethan was rubbing his temples, hoping Ghost would go easy on Andrew. "Oh no, he's in trouble," Norvin said with a grimaced face. Ice Shield. Andrew cast another spell to slow Ghost in his path. Michael saw a 7-foot wall made of ice erupt a few meters before him. The wall seemed to be at least a meter wide and looked sturdy. Everyone, including Andrew, expected Michael to destroy the wall using a spell or his fist. Unexpectedly, they saw Ghost deviate from the straight line he was walking on and walked around the wall instead of destroying the wall. Andrew, who placed an explosive rune that would bounce the attack power back to the attacker, had a troubled look on his face. All the opponents Andrew faced got defeated by either of the 3 spells he just cast. The spell had Layla's fusion stage power behind it, hence, a core formation cultivator couldn't take the attack of Andrew. However, Michael was immune to Layla's attacks. Therefore, Andrew, who had Layla's power, couldn't even touch him. Without Layla, he's as weak as a blind sick puppy. Michael sighed inside. He actually felt pity for Andrew. After realizing long-ranged attacks were not working, Andrew changed his tactic. He activated the runes on his dagger as several golden symbols began to glow on the daggers. "Don't do it, Andrew," Diana mumbled under her breath, looking at her nephew leaping higher into the air to attack Ghost with his daggers. Since Andrew would not be able to learn swordsmanship in a few weeks, Noah taught Andrew how to fight with daggers. It had been a big help to Andrew in the tournament against other opponents. But Diana knew against a swordsman like Ghost, who seemed to have mastered the swords, Andrew was like a child. Seeing Andrew descending upon him, Michael just shook his head disappointedly. The people were on the edge of their seats. Just when Andrew was a couple of inches away from him, Michael grabbed Andrew by his wrists in the mid-air. Andrew lost his momentum and control when Ghost grabbed him. His movement was extremely fast as Andrew didn't even see Ghost move his hands. Andrew's feet touched the ground. He looked Ghost in the eyes while struggling to get out of his hold. "If there's a next time, don't depend on others to fight your battles." Andrew felt his heart skip a beat hearing his words. His words sounded as though Ghost knew he was cheating in the tournament. The very next moment, Andrew felt immense pain in his head. The crowd saw Ghost headbutt Andrew so hard that the sound of their head clashing reverberated through the silent arena. Michael slowly trusted Andrew's wrists as Andrew's face muscles began to twitch in pain. He head-butted Andrew again without giving him much time to let out a cry of pain. A sound of bone cracking could be heard when Ghost head-butted Andrew. In the giant mirrors, they all saw Andrew's nose bent weirdly sideways as blood poured out of his nostrils. If it wasn't for the excruciating pain in his wrists, Andrew would have fainted. The world around him started to spin. Most people expected Michael to break Andrew's wrists, but he proved them wrong by slamming Andrew on the ice shield. Andrew erupted. Boom. The booming noise sounded across the arena while pebbles of ice crumbled down due to the force of Andrew hitting the wall. The force and pain immediately made Andrew cough up blood. Ghost slammed him again on the ice shield like Andrew was a rag doll. When he slammed Andrew the second time, the rune Andrew placed on the wall glowed as the ice shield exploded with immense force. "Andrew!" Imelda shouted from her pavilion. The ice vapor prevented the crowd from seeing what happened to Andrew and Ghost for a few moments. When the fog created by the ice vapor faded away, they saw Ghost was standing beside Andrew, who was lying on the ground, coughing up blood. "Give up, Andrew," Michael said, looking at Andrew at his feet. He didn't even use a fraction of his power. Nonetheless, Andrew was almost at death's door. To Michael's surprise, Andrew pulled himself up after failing to stand up a couple of times. Seeing Andrew really surprised Michael. Andrew was indeed resilient. Still, Michael just shook his head before grabbing Andrew by his neck. Half of Andrew's face was covered in blood and swollen. "Taking a beating doesn't solve your problems, Andrew," despite Andrew being his opponent, Michael advised him. For some reason, Michael felt bad for beating up Andrew. Perhaps it was because the Winstons were good to him, perhaps it was because he pitied Andrew. Nevertheless, he punched Andrew in the face. He didn't use much power as he didn't want to mess up Andrew's brain. As long as he could, he wanted Noah and Winston's not to be his enemies. "I will never surrender." These words barely escaped Andrew's mouth when Michael stopped punching him. "You're not helping yourself, Andrew." The crowd saw Michael clench his fist as veins popped up on his fist. The crowd gasped. They could guess the next punch would be several times more powerful than the previous ones. If this was a movie or a drama, Andrew would have gotten a sudden power boost thinking about his love and escaping Michael's hold. Since it was not the case and Andrew had no powerful being inside his ring, Andrew couldn't even move a muscle. He could just hope he wouldn't lose consciousness. Space warp. Suddenly Michael heard a shout. In a blink of an eye, his hair neck stood up, sensing a threat. He immediately let go of Andrew to leap into the air. In the mid-air, he bent his back and landed on the battle stage comfortably. When he landed on the battle stage, he saw Princess Catherine standing in the place where he was a moment ago. She held Andrew in her hand. Tears kept rolling out of her eyes. Andrew, please wake up." "It's Kathy." The entire arena was stunned by the act of the princess. Even the commenters or the coordinators expected Princess to suddenly appear. Not even the arrays could stop her interference because the short teleportation spell she just used was a legendary spell. Michael saw a silver dagger in Catherine's place. His killing intent rose up, realizing she would have killed him if it wasn't for his reflexes and instincts. "Catherine." Finally, the king realized what just happened. He stood up from his throne along with all the VIPs beside him. No one remained in the seats anymore. The princess caught everyone off guard. "I am going to kill you." Michael, along with the entire arena, heard the princess let out a murderous grumble. Chapter 369. Princess, you are nothing, your majesty. The king's guards quickly surrounded King Bredia when he tried to rush to the battle stage. The coordinators, on the other hand, were stunned to see the sudden appearance of Princess Catherine. Since she used a powerful legendary-level teleportation scroll, they weren't aware of her arrival. Just as the coordinators were about to land on the battle stage, the princess leaped at Ghost with her daggers raised. Andrew could barely lift his hand towards Michael. He wanted to utter the words "don't hurt her," yet failed to do so. "You monster!" she shouted, swinging her daggers at Michael. Seeing the princess trying to attack Michael, Nightmare bore his teeth. Claire felt the dragon's body becoming hotter and hotter. Little 1-inch Claire brushed the dragon's head to calm him down. Claire wasn't worried about Ghost, she was worried about the princess. All the nobles in the VIP pavilions along with the commoners stood up from their seats. They all were either too excited or worried about the princess. "Monster me?" Michael chuckled while evading the dagger easily. "You heartless bastard," she was shouting while violently swinging her daggers. Michael just kept moving his body with his hand behind his back. He could see the king flying towards the battle stage with his royal guards. "You have the courage for this but not for talking to your father?" Michael snickered, swiftly moving his body away from her daggers. He moved like water, swift and smooth. "Kids shouldn't play with these." Michael suddenly flicked the princess' wrist as she lost the dagger. In a blink of an eye, he made her lose another dagger with another flick to her wrist. "See how weak you are." Michael threw the daggers outside the battle stage. "Stop." The king's shout echoed through the arena. The princess' body froze. Her anger slowly faded away while she started to come back to reality. The king's royal guards immediately surrounded the princess. They were all at the core strengthening stage level 8 and wore full metal armor from head to toe. At the moment, they all surrounded the princess, staring at Michael through the hole in their helms. Michael didn't dare to hurt the princess as it would turn the entire Bredia kingdom against him. However, that didn't mean the princess would escape without paying the price for trying to kill him. Kathy, what is the meaning of this? The king's facial muscles twitched. He shivered in anger. Since everything went into a chaotic state, the coordinators paused the battle. Immediately, Sabrina flew to the battle stage along with the Winstons. Ghost won. Standing in the Rivertown Pavilion, Ricky the sneaky bastard shouted, riling up Ghost's fans. Soon, a few disciples followed Ricky's shout, then a group started to shout, and in a few moments, entire fans of Ghost were shouting in unison. Ghost won. Ghost won. Ghost won. Ghost won. Ghost won. The badass points began to go up yet again. I love Andrew. The princess' shout, however, sounded louder than the cheers. The cheers immediately stopped after hearing her words. You can't make me marry another man. I will rather die than marry this monster. The king was too stunned to utter another word. In his whole life, he had never seen Catherine act the way she was acting at the moment. You're nothing but a heartless bastard. Not even his parents wanted him. They threw him away like a piece of trash. How can I marry this piece of trash? Since Catherine couldn't hurt him with daggers, she started to spew hurtful words. Diana couldn't help clenching her fist. She wasn't the gentle Diana in her heart anymore. Harriet Hunt, who was buried within her heart, had returned. She wanted nothing but to rip off the prince's throat. Me? Piece of trash? Michael asked after realizing the king wouldn't say something to shut her daughter. He was too stunned to utter any words. No matter how strong you become, how rich you become, you will never be someone like Andrew. You will never have the last name, you will always be someone who was abandoned by your parents. Michael was getting really pissed off at the princess. He had nothing to do with their little scheme. If he was Andrew, he could have found 100 ways to get King Bredia's permission instead of depending on Noah and Layla to do something impossible. Of course, Michael had to give credit to Noah to put together a plan that would have gotten Andrew what he wanted in a short amount of time. If it wasn't for him, Andrew would have won the competition. If anyone should be blamed, it was Layla. As far as Michael was concerned, she should have told her vulnerability against him to Andrew or Noah. Let me go, Nightmare grumbled. Claire's hands began to hurt due to the heat Nightmare radiated. There was no doubt that if she let go of the dragon, he would go burn the battle stage in fury. Even the gentle Claire began to feel anger boiling inside her after hearing the prince's words. Ethan creased his brows. He wanted to shout as loud as he could that Ghost is his son, not an orphan. However, he knew if he did that, the entire Sky Hall would come down on his son with their full power. Sky Hall wasn't something anyone could win against. Even the great clans wouldn't go against the Sky Hall. While the princess was cursing at Michael, Sabrina made Andrew drink a healing potion. The wounds on the outside and the internal wounds gradually healed up as Andrew slowly opened his eyes. Tsk tisk tsk, Michael shook his head with a narcissistic smile on his face. He looked around the arena before turning his gaze back at the princess. Even though I am an orphan, I have an identity. The core disciple of the Sunrise sect, a prodigy, a man who reached the 100th step in Heaven's Gate competition, and Michael paused for a moment to look at the crowd once again, the 5-star alchemist of Bredia. His cold voice sent a chill running through everyone's spines. The smile on his face finally disappeared as he stared at the princess. Without that princess title, what are you? Humph, Michael snickered. Many gasped, hearing Michael's question. There was no fear in his eyes. No one would dare to disrespect a princess in public, yet Ghost did exactly just that in front of her father, the king, and thousands of people. Michael wasn't afraid of the king anymore. He now had two major powers behind him, the Kane family and the kingdom of Thusia. Take away that princess title and you are nothing, not even a piece of trash. Nothing, the princess shivered in anger. Even when Ghost was beating the crap out of him, Andrew never felt any anger towards Ghost. However, hearing him distract the girl he loves, Andrew's anger exploded within him. Catherine. King Bredia's shout reverberated in the arena. He was too mad at his own daughter to the point he failed to get mad at Michael for disrespecting her. Perhaps the king deep down knew the princess deserved what she got after cursing Ghost and acting like a spoiled brat. I am not a puppet, you can marry me to whoever you want. Catherine stomped the ground. I will marry no one but Andrew. I am not afraid of you anymore, father. Catherine lost all her composure. Her attitude and her words made King Bredia's body tremble in overwhelming fury. Guards who stood closer to the king could hear the king's teeth grinding noise. His breathing got heavier and faster. You will marry this man, King Bredia pointed his finger at Ghost. Michael was so annoyed by the father and daughter duo. This was supposed to be settled inside walls, but the princess brought the family matter to the eyes of the public. Not only that, they dragged him into the middle of their family feud. In the corner of his eyes, Michael saw Calvin give him a nod, wordlessly expressing his support for Ghost. And just when Michael was about to reject the princess, Catherine began to chuckle as tears began to roll out of her hazel eyes. She looked at Andrew, who was being held back by Sabrina and Imelda. "Forgive me, father," she said, looking at King Bredia. Then she turned her watery eyes towards Andrew. "I hope I will get to live with you in the next life, Andrew. Please forgive me." As she said these words, a purplish vial appeared in her hands. "Kathy!" Andrew shouted as she dashed forward. No one knew what was inside the vial, but anyone could tell it was not something she should drink. However, it was too late as she already chugged the entire vial. Some of the royal guards tried to stop Andrew while the others caught the princess, who was falling. "No! Kathy!" King Bredia and Andrew dashed at Catherine, shaking all the guards around them. In the giant mirror, the crowd saw Princess Catherine's rosy skin slowly turning purple. Blood oozed out of her nostrils, mouth as well as her eyes. Her body violently twitched. "Healers!" King Bredia fell to the ground and lifted his daughter's head. Andrew also came to the prince's side. He held the prince's hand. The king was too worried about his daughter to mind Andrew. "No, no, no, don't leave me." Tears rushed out of Andrew's eyes. His tears watered Catherine's face. Seeing his daughter's body twitching violently in his arms, King Bredia's heart ached in pain. The flashes of him holding the princess for the first time when she was born flashed across his eyes. That was the happiest day of his life. At the moment he was not a king but a failed father. Well, this is an interesting turn of events. Unlike Andrew and the king, Michael wasn't shedding any tears. He was looking at the princess with a blank expression. As far as he was concerned, they could just hold a funeral on the battle stage. He couldn't care less. All he wanted was the rewards, the barony. He had a few plans for the Bradford barony. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 370, Healers. Both Andrew and King Bredia screamed as loud as they could. "Move!" Suddenly a melodious voice sounded through the battle stage. The royal guards immediately tensed up, looking at the hooded figure slowly descending from the sky. In the mid-air, the figure removed the cloak to reveal her angelic face. Looking at the face in the giant mirrors, hundreds of gasps sounded in the arena. Layla Alden Ashton's brows raised up. After landing on the battle stage, she walked towards the princess. "Stop!" However, the royal guards shouted at her to stop. They didn't know who this woman was. They perceived her as a threat to the king. In a blink of an eye, a majestically crafted vina materialized in her hand. Ding! Her rosy slender finger played one string as a powerful sonic wave hit the royal guards. The royal guards flung away from the battle stage as though they were hit by a powerful storm. The wave only targeted the royal guards, hence, the others remained on the battle stage. "Who are you?" King Bredia asked with a shivering voice. "Lady Alden," Andrew shouted as a mix of relief and joy hit his core. He heard Noah talk about Layla's healing powers. Guards. King Bredia's mind went black seeing the purplish body of his daughter. He didn't want anyone else to harm his daughter. He was acting crazy in others' eyes. "I wouldn't do that if I were you, King Bredia. You asked for healers and she's the best." Ashton finally opened his mouth. The wielder of angels Vina, Layla Alden. King Bredia felt a chill running through his spine. He had heard about the legend of Layla Alden but never thought he would see her in real life. Finally, a small sliver of hope emerged in his heart. Ignoring all the shocked faces, Layla walked straight towards. She knelt on one knee beside Catherine. The princess' rosy smooth skin had completely turned purplish. Her body wasn't twitching as it was a few moments before. Layla placed her hand on Catherine's forehead and closed her eyes. Please save her," Andrew mumbled while sobbing like a little child. This is too stupid, overdramatic and illogical," Michael thought inside. It was not as he would have married her on the spot. He had everything figured out. He would have rejected the king's offer to marry the princess, and then, the king would have been forced to either postpone Catherine's wedding or choose Andrew, the second finalist, as the groom. It would have worked out if it wasn't for Andrew and his group's little idiotic scheme. While Michael was thinking how stupid they were, Layla opened her eyes. She took one of the deadliest poisons in this world, the venom of a five-headed serpent. Layla sighed. "That's problematic." The king and Andrews turned their gazes towards Ashton to see him also sighing. "Problematic is too weak a word. She's at the death's door." "No shit." Michael chuckled inside, but as she heard his mind voice, she gave him a death stare. Michael just winked at her as she quickly turned her gaze away from him. You can save her, right? Andrew's voice was breaking up in overwhelming sadness. He could barely utter these words through the lumped throat. She took the venom of the female five-headed serpent. I can keep the poison from killing her for an hour maximum. If you want to save her, you need to find a male five-headed serpent, get its venom, make an antidote and give it to her. All within the hour of time. Guards! The king shouted for the royal guards. They still couldn't pick themselves from the ground or fight the dizziness after being hit by Layla. Take everything you need and bring me a male five-headed serpent. The king shouted the order. It's not that simple, King Bredia. Calvin shook his head. He didn't feel pity but pretended to be sad. Michael could see through Calvin's facade. Calvin might have put on a grieving face. Inside he couldn't care less about what happened to the princess. Five-headed serpent is a rare creature which can only be found in the deepest pits of the fire realm. Even if someone goes the fire realm within an hour by some luck, finding it and killing it within an hour is impossible. Just as King Bredia would shout at Calvin for being negative, Ashton also sighed. He is right. It's impossible. I don't care if I have to send an entire Bredian army to the fire realm. I will not let my daughter die here. King Bredia held Catherine's close to his chest. Even if you find everything in an hour, brewing the antidote would take longer than an hour, Layla said. Andrew and King Bredia felt their hopes die within them when they heard Layla. She was the best healer in the world, yet even she didn't seem like she could save Catherine. No, Catherine, you can't leave me, you all I have left in this world, the king cried. Many commoners couldn't help shedding tears looking at the scene. It was a tragedy and everyone felt sad. Unless you have me. Suddenly they heard Ghost's voice as everyone turned to look at him. Michael smiled, flicking his wrist as a chair appeared on the battle stage before him. He sat on the chair backward and looked at the king, Andrew, Layla, and the Winstons. Sitting in front of the king without asking his permission was a crime in Bredia. It was a sign of disrespect towards the king. Thus, the king could imprison Ghost if he wanted to. However, Michael knew when to back off and when to show his claws. The king would do anything for his daughter. At this moment, Bredia wasn't the king, it was Ghost. How far will you go to save your daughter, your majesty? He asked the king with a smile. What do you mean? The king was confused. Let me rephrase my question. Sitting on the chair, he flicked his vest once again. The very next moment, a glistening silver vial appeared in his hand. Looking at the vial, Layla opened her mouth, decided not to speak anything and closed her mouth. A long time ago, Ethan and Diana found a five-headed serpent poison antidote in a ruin. They could tell that the vial in their son's hand is several times purer than the antidote they saw. There was no doubt in their minds that the vial in Ghost's hand could save the princess' life. If it was Noah, they knew he would have given the vial no matter how priceless it was to the princess to save her life. Ghost's smile on his face made them doubt he would give the vial without getting something in return. What price would you pay for this? The antidote that can save your daughter's life. That's how what? The king mumbled as Andrew stared at the antidote without batting an eye. He was speechless. Wow, that's really the antidote. Calvin's words brought King Bredia out of his confused state. Once again the light of hope emerged in everyone's heart. Give me that. The king reached his hand out. Tisk tisk king. Michael shook his head. Are you telling me that the princess' life is worth nothing? Guards. The king's fury exploded within him. He shivered as he called for the royal guards. This time they were only a few meters away from the battle stage. Suddenly the vial cracked in Ghost's hands. The king and Andrew's hearts skipped a beat seeing the cracks forming in the vial. With a little bit more pressure they knew the vial would crumble into pieces. No. Andrew shouted. I will give you everything, please, give her the antidote. Shut up, Andrew. You have nothing to give me. This is between me and His Majesty. Layla didn't even try to talk to Ghost. However, her heart was aching to see how heartless he was. He can't be my child's father, Layla said to herself. The hopes of changing him into a better person slowly began to die inside her. Despite what he did to her, she wanted to give him a chance for the sake of her child. She knew how hard it would be for a child to grow without both parents. She didn't want her child to feel that pain, but it seemed like her child would be better off without Ghost as the father. Michael knew nothing about what was going on inside Layla's mind. His gaze was on the king. How could you play with your daughter's life again, Your Majesty? You know this vial is so delicate. What if it got destroyed when your royal guards come running to me with their heavy armor? What do you want? King asked, gritting his teeth. Although he was burning with anger, he knew that his daughter's life was more important than his anger. The king was willing to pay any price to save his daughter. She's dying. Imelda couldn't keep her mouth shut anymore. You're holding her life as a bargaining chip. Oh. How she began to stutter in anger. Could you be so heartless? Me heartless? Michael tilted his head. Just a few minutes ago, Her Royal Highness tried to kill me. You all heard what she said to me. Still, I'm willing to give the antidote to her instead of keeping the antidote a secret. I almost died getting this. And you're calling me heartless? The entire arena knew he was holding the princess' life as a hostage. No one in the right mind would believe he's not a cold, heartless bastard. Yet he talked like a kind, generous person. Many people were looking at him with their mouths wide open. Your Majesty, I only want you to keep your word. I want what's rightfully mine and a few other things. I don't want to make the princess' life cheap. It's not fair. Michael was having fun with the king. He couldn't care less about what others would think about him. The princess tried to kill him. The king stood there watching Catherine spew hurtful things. Andrew tried to take away what should have been his. Michael wanted everyone to pay the price. Throne doesn't make you a king, power does. Michael snickered inside, looking at the helpless, desperate king in front of him. Any idea what Michael would ask from the king? Chapter 371. Everyone single one in the arena had their eyes on Michael. They were waiting for what he was going to ask the king. No one let out a sound. If someone dropped a pin right at this moment, it would make a loud sound. The arena was deadly silent. Michael stood up from the chair, put his hand behind his back, and took several steps towards the edge of the arena. I don't give a damn about who wins this tournament, all I care about is the rewards. So as you promised, Your Majesty, I want the Bradford barony. No one gasped hearing his words as they did after his next words. I want you to announce Bradford, the river town, and all the surrounding areas as an independent kingdom ruled by me and the Sunrise sect. Ashton knew Ghost is an opportunist and power-hungry young man, but when he heard Ghost just ask the king to make him a king, he felt goosebumps. Calvin on the other hand praised Ghost wholeheartedly. If King Bredia let go of Bradford, the river town and the surrounding areas as Ghost asked, it would certainly make Bredia weaker. However, the king had no choice unless he was willing to let Catherine die. Any weak kingdom was a prey to be hunted and merged into the Thusia Empire. Hence, Calvin supported Ghost's claims. We have to do something, Peyton. Arrest him and make him give up the antidote, Zanali growled looking at Ghost. As a guardian, Peyton wanted to stop Ghost from toying with the princess' life. Yet even without Peyton's complete realization, the seed of hatred towards Noah sprouted in her heart. One could not blame Peyton, she dedicated her life to Guardian Guild. Unlike other beauties, she had no boyfriend, she didn't have fun, she didn't host galas or balls, she only focused on serving the Guardian Guild. In return, she expected the guild to treat her fairly. When everyone thought Lucifer was just a run-of-the-mill psycho killing people at night, she was the one who suspected him to be a big threat. She put together the operation that led to the destruction of his base and almost caught him. Instead of her getting praises and the rewards she deserved for the work she did, Noah ended up leading the team. Moreover, the Alpha Guardian was talking about making Noah a Guardian Captain instead of her. She was 14 years old when she started to work for the Guardian Guild. What she couldn't get in 14 years, Noah got that within a year. It was not fair, she thought. If we interfere, he might destroy the antidote. This is between him and the king. But Peyton, I said this is between him and the king. Her voice sounded colder as Zanali quickly closed her mouth. On the other hand, Claire and the elders were speechless. Claire wanted to stop Michael, ask him to give the princess the vial first, and then negotiate with the king. Claire wasn't as hypocritical as the others. She very well knew the princess had no right to berate Ghost like she did. In the future, if he needed that antidote, he wouldn't have one. There was no need for him to give that vial for free. However, Claire pitted the king and Andrew. She wanted Ghost to first save the princess and then negotiate with the king. But she was also not as naive as she used to be. Her mind told her that if Ghost gave the king the antidote, there was no way the king would give him everything he asked. The king could even arrest him for negotiating with him. She's dying. Elder Sandra tried to stand up but was stopped by Elder Reiner. Did you all forget that the princess tried to kill Ghost? If he was 1 second slow, it would be him lying on the stage, Elder Reiner said with his usual bright smile on his face. Elder Reiner, we teach our disciples humanity, kindness and forgiveness. What he's doing is against everything we stand for. Claire was in a conundrum hearing the conversation between Sandra and Reiner. Both of them seemed to be in the right. Look at the king, he's not the king of Bredia anymore, he's just a desperate father. We should help him, Elder Sandra said. Elder Sandra, Elder Reiner yet again stopped her by holding her wrists. Do you remember the times we went to meet King Bredia asking for a loan? Elder Reiner's question brought back some bad memories. Claire especially gritted her teeth. The elders lost pity for the king after what Elder Reiner asked them. Let me refresh your memories. The king of Bredia, His Majesty asked Claire to be his concubine. Do you want me to spill out what he really wanted? The smile on Reiner's face disappeared. For the first time in their life, some of the disciples saw Elder Reiner looking cold. He was always a warm, kind and witty person. And do you want me to remind the times the king ordered us to accommodate a part of the Bredian army who harassed our female dispels and raped some of them? Elder Reiner's words got colder and colder. He didn't give a damn about those girls. Those girls were traumatized for their life. 50 gold coins, that's what the king gave them. Kindness, humanity, and forgiveness is for only those who deserve it. Elder Sandra was out of words for a few moments. We can't let the princess suffer for what her father did. She's innocent. She tried to kill Ghost because of love. Meanwhile, Michael was looking at the king's trembling. Each second passed by, the king's worry overshadowed his anger. A kingdom obviously can't survive without financial and military power. After all, Your Majesty won't feel good if someone else took away something you generously offered. Michael paused for a second, looked at the people staring at him with wide-open mouths and continued, I won't ask for much but 1/3 of the Bredian army and financial support for a full year until we get back on our feet. The king almost spurted out blood hearing his outrageous requests. Financial support he could provide as Bredia was a preposterous kingdom. However, giving up 1/3 of the army would weaken the military power. I also want a peace treaty with Your Majesty. We can't have some stupidly loyal general wage war against my kingdom, can we? Some of the people of Bradford were worried about his request. They were worried that they would be led to poverty under the rule of a cruel, ruthless person like him. However, the people of Rivertown were incredibly joyful and excited. They knew their life was much better after Ghost joined the Sunrise sect. He wasn't even a ruler of the town, yet he did so many things that the king never bothered to. I won't ask for anything else except for a little tour around Your Majesty's treasury. Since I'm giving such a valuable item, I'm sure Your Majesty would want me to take something else in return. Her condition is worsening, Layla said, looking at Catherine's body twitching violently. Ghost, please, I beg you, give me the antidote. Andrew pleased. I will, I'm just waiting for His Majesty to agree to everything I asked. I will, give me the antidote. King Bredia yelled, but Michael shook his head. I want the official documents with your sign, Your Majesty. You bastard. The king couldn't keep his anger contained. Relax, Your Majesty. What if you throw me in jail after getting the antidote? Is better we go with official documents, am I right, Calvin? Michael turned to look at Calvin. Nod. Of course, documents are better than just words of agreement. Meanwhile, Catherine's were violently twitching as purplish blood oozed out of her pores. The purplish blood painted her body purple. Ghost, it will take time to draft documents, can't you just take His Majesty's words? Ethan asked, trying to convince Ghost. He didn't want his son to make an enemy out of the king. Although he still couldn't believe how cruel and ruthless his son is, he didn't want Ghost to become an enemy of an entire kingdom. Calvin, Michael turned his gaze away from Ethan to Calvin. How long will it take to draft the official documents for His Majesty to sign? If you desire, I can draft the documents in 15 minutes. Of course, Michael snickered inside. Earlier when he signed the parchments related to the guild leader position, Calvin did not bring with filled parchment but just wrote the clauses in front of him. Thus, Michael knew Calvin could come up with documents before Catherine died. King Bredia, shall I start preparing the documents? Calvin asked. His inner corners of the eyebrows were angled up. He was really good at pretending to be sad. No. I can't, the king mumbled under his breath. What Ghost asked was not something he could give up so easily. The nobles and the people would definitely cause a massive headache if he agreed to Ghost. It might even throw the kingdom into chaos. At first, he wanted to say okay, get the antidote, save his daughter and come up with something to prison Ghost. That way he could have said he won't negotiate with a criminal. However, if he signed official documents in front of thousands of people, Ghost would become a ruler of another kingdom. King Bredia had no power over another ruler. Plus, if he signed the documents, Ghost would get 1/3 of the Bredian army. Coupled with the Kane family's support, Ghost would be untouchable. Even if he waged war against Ghost, Bredia would still lose their remaining troops. It would result in weaker Bredia. Lady Alden, how long can you hold off the poison? Layla didn't even want to look at his face, still he answered him for the sake of Andrew and the princess. 20 minutes, King Bredia's heart was pounding against his chest. He started to sweat as he shivered. Oh, cutting it close. Tick-tock, Your Majesty, Tick, tock. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 372, You cruel bastard, the king growled. He felt utterly helpless. He wanted to rip the antidote out of his hands and hang him right in this instance. Kathy was right, you are a monster. After everything that happened, the king had realized why Catherine chose to take her own life instead of marrying Ghost. Although King Bredia never wanted to marry Catherine to anyone except a warrior, he would rather marry Catherine to someone like Andrew than Ghost. The king could see the love, care and grief in Andrew's eyes. It was pure love. The king blamed himself for not asking Catherine who she wants to marry. It was his anger and stubbornness that made his daughter drink poison. The smile that lingered on Ghost's face suddenly disappeared. He knelt on one knee before the king. Your Majesty, do you think I don't know what you asked in return for a loan my elders asked a year ago? His voice suddenly sounded colder. You tried to use their desperation to take sect leader Claire as your concubine. And we both know what's concubine really means to a person like you, except for the elders of the Sunrise sect and a few nobles who were very close to the king. No one knew about the king's request. It was Jack who told Michael about the request. At that time, Michael didn't know he would meet the king in person and negotiate with him over the princess' dying body. Since Claire was an exceptional beauty, Michael knew it was natural for people like the king to court her. However, when the king tried to act innocent and called him a monster, he decided to let everyone know the king's actual innocence. The king was speechless. Something made the king shiver inside looking at Ghost's eyes. He felt like a beast looking directly into his soul, waiting to devour him alive. The king felt so weak before him. And should I remind you of the time you offered 50 fucking gold coins as a remuneration for the girls who were raped by your soldiers who stayed at the sect due to your order? Michael patted the king on the back before standing up. If you care about them so much, you should have found a way to punish him, but you're punishing an innocent girl. Imelda raised her voice before Andrew's. Innocent? Ah! Suddenly, to all of their surprise, Michael burst into laughter. It was the princess who decided the price of 50 gold coins. 50 gold coins not for each but to all 8 girls. They were supposed to share the coins among themselves based on what? Who was raped worse? What the actual fuck? Many commoners gasped in shock. Those who felt pity for the princess and hated Ghost now seemed to see the princess in a new light. The princess decided a girl's innocence was with 7 or 8 gold coins. No one is innocent in this world. Everyone is a villain in someone's eyes. But, Andrew mumbled, what? If the roles were reversed and the king had the antidote, do any of you think he would have offered it to me for free? He looked around the arena to see no one nodding, so why should I? Ghost, right at the moment, Calvin brought the documents. He handed over the parchments to Michael. Finally, Michael took away his gaze from the king to the contents of the parchments. He read the entire 10-page document in a minute. I don't have to prove anything to anyone here. It's your Majesty who has to prove your love. You can either sign this and save your daughter or watch her slowly die in your arms. The choice is yours. Michael threw the parchments towards the king. I assume you have 10 minutes to decide, your Majesty. Sign the damn thing. Andrew took the parchment from the ground before throwing it on the king's face. The king's hands shivered. On one hand he had his flying daughter, on the other hand he had something that would divide his kingdom and probably throw the kingdom in chaos. Your Majesty, this is no time for thinking. Please, sign them and save your daughter, Ethan said. With his shivering hand, the king finally signed the document. His heart was pounding against his chest. Ricky was feeling goosebumps along with the other disciples. It seemed like only yesterday he saw a full black-clothes youngster at the gates of River Town. Now the youngster was about to become a king of his own kingdom. He wished Daniel was here to witness this historic moment. Hail your Majesty, Ghost. Ricky couldn't hold back as he shouted as loud as he could. Hail your Majesty, Ghost. 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 Gradually, one by one, the people of River Town and the Sunrise sect disciples roared in unison. Ignoring the shouts, Michael reached his hand out as the parchments flew straight into his hands. He checked the documents for a few moments before nodding with a smile. Keep the end of your bargain. Layla reached out her hand. Of course. Michael threw the antidote to Layla. Kid, you became a king. Ashton was still in shock. He never expected the tournament would turn out to be like this. He rejected the princess to gain a kingdom of his own. Moreover, he had also gained 1/3 of the Bredian army to command. King Ghost, It does have a nice ring to it. While Clavin, Ghost and Ashton were busy discussing the future, Layla gently poured the antidote into Catherine's mouth. The moment the antidote touched Catherine's lips, her body jerked. Soon, her body gradually started to lose the purplish color as her skin slowly turned rosy again. Kathy. The tears of joy poured out of both Andrew's and the king's eyes. Everyone was looking at the princess, waiting for her to open her eyes. Only Diana looked at her son, Ghost. Most people including her own sister were thinking of him as evil, but they failed to understand that if it wasn't for her son, the princess would have died. He saved her. Andrew saw Catherine slowly open her eyes. She looked at Andrew and then the worried face of her father. Father, you brat. King Bredia embraced so tightly and close to his chest. Andrew couldn't wait to hug her, tell her how much he loves him and how much she just hurt him by trying to take her own life. Their union of love continued for a couple of minutes before Catherine saw Ghost reading a long parchment seriously without even taking a look at her. Slowly she started to wonder how they managed to save her. She was told it was nearly impossible for someone to save her after drinking the five-headed serpent's venom. Layla stood up as Andrew thanked her, holding her hand. Sabrina quickly came to stand by Layla's side. The Winstons surrounded her. Layla couldn't just chase them away. As a person who trained to fight evil, Layla developed a seventh sense that indicates her most evil being. Aside from evil beings, she could all sense darkness in someone's heart. When she first met Ghost, she sensed the darkness in his heart. However, she ignored it as everyone in the world had darkness in their hearts. Weirdly except Noah. She didn't find any darkness in his heart. In the corner of her eyes, she noticed Diana Winston staring at her. Surprisingly, Layla felt a chill. You. Catherine gritted her teeth. It's okay, Catherine, everything's fine. Andrew patted her shoulder. The king didn't mind Andrew. He had already decided to marry Catherine to the man she truly loves, Andrew. Hey, a princess, like nothing happened. Ghost smiled at Catherine. Catherine saw he was brimming in joy. His face was bright as someone lit a candle inside his head. The royal guards as well as her father stared at Ghost with their bodies shivering. Deep inside her father's eyes, she saw immense worry and anger. She could tell that something big had happened while she was unconscious. Father, what happened? Ghosty, everyone heard a childish voice as they saw the dragon land on Ghost's shoulder. It was not as big as before but shrunk its body to the size of a grown eagle. Claire sent off little Cindy to her mother before the final. Claire didn't want Cindy to see Ghost ruthlessly beat the hell out of Andrew. The little girl had seen enough blood and gore for her age, Claire thought. Following Nightmare, the elders and Claire came flying towards Michael. Since they all reached the core formation stage, they could fly without the help of flying swords. Except for Elder Reiner, who had a wide grin on his face, the others looked stunned. Michael could see the reluctance in their eyes. Master Ghost, Ricky came to his side on a flying sword and landed beside him. Oh, forgive me, he quickly knelt on one knee. Your Majesty, Ashton chuckled lightly before patting Ghost on the shoulder. You have a lot to deal with. But come by the manor in 3 days, we will hold a gala celebrating the marriage. You must come, of course, Lord Ashton. Lord Ashton immediately took off, disappearing into the skies. Soon, Calvin also left the stage before further mingling himself with the king's problem. Although Calvin wasn't afraid of King Bredia, he was afraid of Layla Alden. In Layla's eyes, he saw a glimmer of anger towards Ghost before when she looked at him. Calvin didn't want to get onto her bad side by being too friendly with Ghost. We need to talk. Just as Michael was about to talk to Claire and the elders, he heard Layla's voice. All the eyes on the battle stage and the arena turned back to look at Layla and Ghost. Some guessed Ghost just made Layla mad enough to get his ass kicked. Can we talk later? I am kinda busy here, many gasped in shock. They couldn't believe he was actually ignoring a country-toppling beauty. Most of all the men in Elon would die to just have a short conversation with her, yet Ghost shrugged her off. Layla, however, didn't say anything more but came to his side. She grabbed his elbow. In a blink of an eye, she took off into the sky with Ghost. Nightmare couldn't even understand how he landed on the ground. She was too fast. What just happened? If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.